how's it hanging, everybody? Welcome back to Tag Team, Pokemon Trading Card Games premier podcasting trio. My name is Riley Hulbert, joined as always by my good friends, Mr. Andrew Mahone and Mr. JW Kriewall. And folks, as a pre-World Championship 2026 celebration, we thought it'd be fun to take a trip down memory lane. So for today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at all of World Champions formats of years past and ranking them on a tier list. So you get to hear our hot takes on the formats, the decks, how they play, and how we would rank them against each other. But before we do that, boys, how you doing today?
Chilling, dude. Just got some ice cream with the family. Nice, fun summertime activity. Working on a lengthy video essay right now at the office. Kind of been just scripting, research and scripting. I've done some interviews, maybe not so much to like feature them, but to like glean more information and things like that. So excited about it. It's gonna be a big one. I'm doing like covering like the complete history of organized play and how it's evolved over time, and then eventually want to do maybe after Worlds like a kind of a deep dive history of the World Championships and how they've changed over time. But this one is kind of focused on organized play and how like that as a system has changed over the years, which is been really cool actually. The research has been a ton of fun, and I am learning a lot of stuff that I did not already know, which has been genuinely very fun to do deep dives on. So,
you're a freaking journalist.
Cool. That's what I'm doing, dude. These are the kinds of videos. I'm at this point where it's like, I just want to make the kinds of videos that I want to make. So like, I'm going to give myself the grace and the time to be able to do it. And, the content creator part of me keeps like getting nervous or anxious that I'm not like pumping out enough stuff. Like I haven't just shipped any slop this week, or the week before, and like and I'm like, oh man, I'm falling off, bro. I gotta like, it's just I try to just take a deep breath and be like, listen, man, I've been at it for like 9 years at this point. Been making YouTube videos for like 9 years. It's a long time. I do the podcast every week,
There you
I
go.
love doing this.
That's a piece of content.
It's weekly content. It's weekly content. Right?
That's right.
I do the Deckbuster series every week. That's weekly content, right? So for my like long form videos, like I just want to take the time, make something I'm proud of. That's what I'm working on right now. So excited about it.
Nice, dude.
What about just AI generating a whole script and a whole video idea and just doing that? And a thumbnail.
Yeah, upload a video of you talking to an AI a voice generator, and then upload a script, and then you could just basically have like a self-generating content. I've actually thought about this. Okay, so I have thought about this. Like, since no one can really claim to like know every single deck, what if I just bought every major creator's metafy and then pumped it into like an LLM?
I just created the ultimate coach. Yes. It's so obvious.
Or like the videos, right? It's like a deep dive into Dragapult, right? And it's just Andrew Hedrick's metafy.
And what is the difference between that and just stealing it?
Well, I'm putting my own creative spin on it.
Yeah, that's exactly
the AI-ification of it is your creative spin, just to be clear.
Yeah. Well, I'm
turning it into AI slop.
I'm making something new.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair use laws. Yeah,
oh my God.
Something like that.
Okay. Yeah, dude. Why don't you just go ahead and do that, JW, and we'll just see how that goes.
Well,
could you also, while you're in there, could you make a video on the Civil War for me? Thanks.
Yeah, I'll definitely think about it. Let me know in the comments whether that's a good idea or not. I have been thinking about it, so
I'm on the fence of whether or not this is a good idea. So if somebody in the comments could tell me.
Anyway, Riley, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm good. We're on the final stages of all of our wedding stuff, crossing our T's and dotting our I's, so that's feeling good. Our current project outside the wedding is we're going to have Jill's family over for a night before the wedding. And the problem, though, I forget if I've mentioned this before, is 2 of the bedrooms upstairs don't have doors. And so we're trying to overcome that challenge and provide doors for our guests. And you may be wondering, like, could we just do like a tension rod curtain type situation? I mean, it's just family, it's just overnight. And the answer is kind of actually no. And the reason it's no is because
The walls
Jill's
are made of
mom and
lava.
dad and sister and wife and sister's wife are going to be staying with us. And
Mhm.
within each of those couples is one person who's allergic to cats. And so we have 1 bedroom with a door and 2 that don't have a door right now. And the cats would obviously just go through the curtain. So we have to add a
Wouldn't
door.
you put the cat in the room with the door?
We're not gonna lock a cat in a room overnight. Like they gotta go to the bathroom, they gotta eat their food, which dispenses in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
So
put all that stuff in the room. Maybe I'm
we're not
overthinking
moving our litter
this.
robot up to the bedroom for one
That seems
night.
like that seems like the easiest. I mean, getting doors
It probably
is something
is
you
functionally
should do.
easier. But the thing is, we're
But-
gonna eventually get a door on this dang bedroom, so might as well just work to get it done now. The
I
problem is I don't have the
guess.
equipment to deal with this situation, nor do I really feel like buying anything right now.
Mhm.
So, but then I guess you trade buying it for hiring someone. So it's just all stupid. But
It's all screwy.
give me the
that's for sure.
cheapest door and the cheapest handle and just throw it on.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, best of luck.
Is what it is. Is what it is. And for followers of the CRT adventure, the guy never got back to me. No, but it's still on Facebook Marketplace. So I kind of hope he does, because it's like 2 miles from my house and I would love to have that TV. But I have promising prospects across the state. So, more to come.
Excellent.
More
Excellent.
to come.
Well, guys, I think we should get right into it. This could be a very long episode. It could be a very short episode. But it's a very important episode nonetheless.
Yeah, excellent framing device, my guy. Very, very important episode to come, folks.
Yeah, so I am pitching that we start with the most recent World Championships and work our way back in time. You would think that maybe it would make sense to go chronologically, but I think from a listening perspective, it makes sense to start with the World Championship formats that everybody is likely to be able to connect with and get an idea of where we're placing things. And then as we get further and further away from the present, we start to get into formats that less and less people are familiar with, but we have the context built up of all the formats that people do know in order to place them so people can understand the significance of where the older formats are getting placed.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the move. Also, like, if I had to anticipate, we'll have some of the more developed opinions on the formats that were during our time as players, and maybe some of the most iconic formats of years past. So I think this will just breed the best discussion. It'll get our creative juices flowing by the time we get to the older stuff. So
Well, let's
that all
get
said,
into
let's dive right in. JW, do you want to introduce our first Worlds format to us, the most recent one?
Sure,
year?
most recent Worlds format in Anaheim, California. The Scarlet and Violet through Black and White format. This was a tournament won and really, I don't want to say dominated, but it was won by Gardevoir. Gardevoir was certainly hot for this World Championships. It was definitely a format that was dominated, ironically, by Goldango, which had been a kind of middling player until Genesect EX was released in the Black and White expansion. Riley McKay coming out on top with their Gardevoir. And I mean, if you just look at the top 4, like not really counting what they printed as Worlds decks, it's like a very diverse metagame, right? We have a Gardevoir winning, obviously Justin Neudorf coming in second with Dragapult Dusknoir, have a Raging Bolt, have a Charizard, and just like going there, diversity in a format is not necessarily indicative of a good format, but I do think in 2025 there was a lot of parity across the top decks, right? You had Goldengo that did extremely well along with those 4 that I mentioned. You have things like Zoroark that's doing well. You have different variants of, things like Gardevoir, things like Dragapult, a lot of different ways to play Charizard. So it was a pretty interesting and deep format in my eyes.
Yeah, I really like this format personally. I feel like the following like set releases prior to rotation didn't really shake things up significantly either from where it was here in the black and white format. And my opinion, for those of you who've been listening, know that I really enjoyed like the pre-rotation format. I thought it was very like deep and interesting, and Gardevoir and Dragapult and all these different players had a lot of interesting like matchup dichotomies going on. There's a lot of cool decisions you could make throughout the game. I feel like Gardevoir winning the tournament is also like kind of a perfect end cap to its career prior to the couple regionals and then rotating. So I really am a big fan personally of the 2025 Worlds format. It's interesting that Goldengo was such a big player and then didn't even make it in the top 4.
It should have though. I mean, if you go back and watch Piper's game,
it was tragic, right?
It was tragic. Yeah.
Prize in the Gimme Ghouls, not good. So all in all, I think this was cool. There were slow decks, there were aggressive decks, there was like Gardevoir's more single prize angle, there was the plenty of multi-prize decks. This is prior to 3 prizers being reintroduced as well. So, and I think the Gardevoir lists at this point were at some of their most interesting iterations of Gardevoir, with the heavy Monkey Dory lines, you're leaning hard into Screamtail and Fluttermane as your attackers. The matchup against Dragapult is always super duper interesting in my opinion. It could really swing either way. So yeah, big fan of this format personally.
JW, why you got ChatGPT pulled up?
What?
Why don't we just ask Chat? Why don't we just ask ChatGPT what they think?
Yeah,
of
ask ChatGPT where to put this on the tier list.
Okay.
Yeah, bro.
Great. I'll ask it.
Ask AI what they think.
Sure.
I mean, why?
For sure. I will.
Just ask your good friend Claude, dude. Anyways, while you're doing that, I think for me personally, any format with the Monkey Dories in it is not one that I'm gonna rank as like great. I'm not in love with Monkey Dory as a card. No, I just really am not. I think that Gardevoir decks were okay to play against and to play with. I wasn't in love with it. I think this format's fine, but I know that there's a lot of people who really love this era of the Pokemon TCG, and I get that, considering that we had just kind of come out of VMAX and V-Star slop and tag team slop before that. So, like, I get it. It kind of did seem fresh, right? But in practice, it's not actually my personal favorite to play.
Well, yeah, I'd say if we're ranking Worlds formats specifically by how enjoyable and skill testing they were to actually play, I'd actually put 2025 Anaheim fairly high, roughly number 5 to 8 among modern Worlds formats, and probably top 10 all time. I wouldn't put it in the absolute pantheon, but I do think it will age well.
I'm feeling like B tier. But I know a lot of people are going to want to see A.
The AI told you
said
to say that.
Said B tier, dude.
Well, the AI said it's a top 10, roughly number 5 to number 8.
Well, it's
modern Worlds
top
formats.
5 to 8 modern formats, but top 10 all time is also interesting. Like, what is it stratifying?
Well, I think they're solidifying that it is
top, not very good.
Oh, well, okay, yeah, I guess it depends on what you think of as modern. Is modern 2010 and beyond? Because that's top third, top half to top third. So it depends on how
I feel like that's too many years of the Pokemon TCG's lifespan for that to be the modern era now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, in any case, I tend to agree with AI. Just Fanatics as a whole. I
like just in general or in this specific instance.
No, I kid. That was a bit, but I think that this format will age extremely well. It's obviously very fresh, right? We're still dealing with some of these cards, right? We still have the Monkey Dories. We're still dealing with Dragapult, right? We're still dealing with Raging Bolt. Teal Mask Ogerpon. All these cards are still around. Zoroark is probably going to be a major player, so it still feels relatively at the fingertips for a lot of players. But I think if you look in 5 years, when we look back on this format, 10 years, when we look back on this format, 15 years, we look back, this is going to be one of the most accessible, most interesting formats for players to play. And I think there is a lot of back and forth. I tend to agree with you, Riley, where a lot of these matchups are really interesting. You can play different tech cards to account for different matchups. And so that to me is very interesting, because we could even see down the line, more evolution of this format. And so I would tend to rank
my
it.
Big beef.
You're a big B on this one?
There's just my big beef, dude. My big beef.
Oh, your big beef.
It's
the Monkey Dory.
No, and that there's too much draw power, dude. There's too much draw power.
That's what makes the game fun.
Works.
That's
people like drawing cards.
Dude.
Yes, dude.
It's too much. There's be balance. There's no balance here. It's like, I'll Goldengo, Fez,
Yes, it's broken. It's broken. It feels very
what's
broken.
The point of
very...
Iono if it doesn't mean anything, man?
That's not even true, though, because you can play around stuff like that by thoughtfully manipulating damage on the board with
with the
like
Monkey Dory,
which were the best decks in the format. Like, I don't know. I think this format, I agree with JW, is going to be remembered very fondly in years to come.
I'm fine to have the cast rank it highly. Just let the record show that I disagree.
You disagree. I feel like there's a bit of recency bias, in my opinion, on your Monkey Dory hate.
I agree.
Because Monkey Dory is getting old. It's an old hat at this point, but when we're reflecting on Monkey Dory, we'll probably enjoy it more.
Let's put it as an anchor point here in A tier, shall we?
I think that's fine, but I would put it in B tier. But I understand that most people want to see it in A.
I would put it in B tier. Okay.
Just let the record show.
All right. Well, let's now go to what I maybe consider a stinker format. And that is 2004.
Just look at this.
2024. And that's no shade. That's no shade to Fernando. That's no shade to Sanosuke. That's no shade to Jesse. But by and large, like the top 3 decks, like first of all, are not indicative of the entire year prior. And they're just kind of boring, one main attacker by and large for all of these.
Miraidon is not boring, dude.
It's not. I mean, I love Miraidon.
There's
Miraidon.
no shot you're hating on 2025 and are like Miraidon is peak Pokemon cards.
Yeah, I defend that, Andrew.
Okay.
Defend that. This, I think, is a stinker. I think that the Regidrago decks are really interesting, but like Iron Thorn's winning is not very inspiring. Obviously, Miraidon's very cool, but I don't see myself like really enjoying playing that. Again, in 10 years down the road, it's like not a format that I think has a lot of depth to it.
My main sticking point there was that you said that the decks aren't very exciting. To my counter to that would be that Miraidon is actually quite exciting, because you've got cards like Electric Generator and stuff, which just create very wow moments. Whereas, decks that are just all draw, million game actions over here, million game actions over there, monkey, that to me is less exciting and more tedious. So like
it's more tedious to me to play against a Miraidon deck that's taking like all these actions turn one. They're squawkabillying, they're playing multiple generators, you're just hoping they whiff. Like that's boring to me. Like that's not interesting at all. And this whole format is just like crazy aggro decks, right? And then Iron Thorns to try and shut them down, right? Iron Thorns is like a counter deck. You have the Roaring Moon deck, you have Miraidon, you have Regidrago, which is also an aggressive deck. You have the Raging Bolt deck, you have Lugia. Like these are all just like, let's just strap in and go for a wild ride. Like that's
well, it's exciting. You may not like it, but it's like exciting. It's bombastic, like there's things
It's insane
happening.
to me that you're playing devil's advocate for the exact types of formats you just called slop like 5 minutes prior.
Listen, I'm not going to rank it highly, but I will say it's exciting.
You think this is exciting, Andrew? Like, be for real, dude. Be for real. Look at this
Lugia
Iron
V-Star. Lugia V-Star is certainly exciting, bro. He's got ultra double Archeops in his hand. Oh!
That's not exciting.
I don't know. That we might have to cut this episode short. I think we need to have a talk, Andrew. So okay.
We can put it in like D tier. I'm cool with that.
He just wants to disagree, which is fine. But I do feel like this has to be super low on the hierarchy, right?
I mean, it is interesting. Yeah. I think Regidrago is one of the more interesting decks just generally. But then, yeah, if we're thinking like a Worlds format and, you know, kind of recreating that and, you know, you want to play and build the decks that did well, you know, the top 3 again are not particularly inspiring for me. Maybe outside of Miraidon, that's really cool. But the problem with these decks is like there's not a lot of counterplay, right? Inherently, Iron Thorns is trying to make it so that you do not play the game. And I think you could make the same argument for Miraidon, right? It's like you are trying to go for the turn 1 knockout or the turn 2 knockout on whatever attacker your opponent's building up and just end the game as quickly as possible. You can make that argument for Lugia as well, right? And then the Trifrost attack in the Regidrago deck, like you're just trying to end the game. In a lot of cases, the win condition is just to end the game before it even starts. I don't think that makes for a very healthy format. So
bear in mind, this is the format where Monkey Dory was printed and Gardevoir completely flopped. That's how like insanely aggressive and toxic this format was.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, bro. Gardevoir, that deck sucks. No Gardevoir in sight. Looking good to me.
It was only really because of the Kyurem, dude. Like you could Regidrago Kyurem and you could actually do it like multiple turns.
The Iron Hands is also
much easier. Yeah. Yeah, and then the Iron Hands, of course, in Miraidon. Yeah, I mean this is a tough one.
This is looking fun. Highly. This is looking kind of fun to me.
You're sadistic.
All right,
maybe this is the D tier, but
C tier. All right, fine.
How many formats would you genuinely rank below this one, just off the dome?
Well, we're gonna have to get further down the list to see.
if you could find a couple that like go below it, we can move it up to C.
All right. So long as that there's potential to be promoted, I'm fine with that.
That's fine. We can reevaluate as we go.
2023.
This format's goated.
Worlds,
dude.
2023 in Yokohama, Japan. Brilliant Stars to PAL. Sorry, I'm missing the Paldea Evolved. Paldea Evolved. There we go. Brilliant Stars Paldea Evolved. Vance Kelly wins this event with Mew. He'd been playing it all year. Comes through in the biggest tournament ever. Biggest tournament of the season. Wins with Mew VMAX. Tord Reklev in time, yeah. Tord Reklev second, brilliant placement with Gardevoir. Michael Pramawat, again, this is just like a GOAT top 4. You know, Michael Pramawat in third, Azul in fourth. Very iconic for that reason. Just looking at storylines here. What do we think about this format? How do you remember 2023 Worlds?
Scroll down. Go to 21st place.
Oh, yeah. And in 21st place, Andrew Mahone with Miraidon.
Oh, yeah. What a goat. What a freaking goat right there.
Yeah. It just couldn't
I mean, no one expected this deck, to be fair. So
yeah.
That was pretty goated.
It just couldn't beat Mew. That was the problem. But
I beat a Mew. I went dead even versus Mew.
Not gonna lie.
It was not a great match. You had to get them paths to stick, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But
Judge Path and Prey. Yeah.
I think this format was fine. To me, it felt okay.
Gets top 32, says the format's good.
This format had to be good, for sure.
I said fine. I did not say great. This format was fine.
So
I mean, a lot of the games that I played, I was just trying to bully my opponent off the board for sure. Overcome natural inconsistencies in their deck by just jamming path over and over again. I think that there are aspects of this format that I enjoyed, and aspects that I thought were just doing too much. The power levels like felt very high of just the cards in general, and those are things that I don't generally like. Mew VMAX was like a deck that I would eventually kind of fall in love with earlier on in this season, as I just was kind of like grinding. We as a group were kind of just had coalesced around Mew VMAX for a little while, which I have fond memories of, because there became a point in the season where I stopped thinking about what to play and was just like, oh yeah, Mew's broken. Like, I'm just gonna send that, right? And then it ended up winning Worlds. So yeah, Mew was just like very broken.
It was the Mew year.
Yeah. I'll always kind of look back on this season as like the season that I just freaking muted out. And I don't like hate that about like my trading card game history. Like, I don't hate that I just freaking muted out one year. Like, it was kind of a fun year to mute it out. You drew a ton of cards. It was an obscene deck, really. There were Cramomatics in there. Like, you were doing all sorts of wacky stuff, right? And if I look at like all the decks that I've ever played in my Pokemon TCG like history, Mew VMAX was one of the decks that I just kind of freaking liked playing. Like, I had some good vibes with this deck, and it was kind of iconic for this year. So I have fond memories of this year, even though I understand that the power level, there's certainly problems, but like the kind of stop and go of the Mew deck and the power level of it with the path to the peak, I thought was like kind of interesting. And I do generally really like formats that have ability lock in them. And I think that that's something that this format had that is missing from the last two formats that we just kind of like critiqued a little bit. And it's something that I really genuinely don't like about the formats that we're in right now, including 2025, is that there's no way to stop the abilities. They're just coming, right? And then in 2024, you had Iron Thorns, which stopped abilities, but to me, that was like almost a fluke. I actually really enjoy Path to the Peak as a card, and I would rank this format, decently well, I think, just because of that card alone and how it interacted with the format.
Yeah, I mean, to your original question, JW, is what do you think of when you think of this World Championship? And to me, it was the fact it was in Japan and freaking awesome.
Yes.
But when it comes to the actual format itself, I feel like there's some similarities between this one and 2024, just in terms of like extremely high power level, like decks slugging it out. There was a little bit more of that disruptive element to the game, like Andrew was saying, playing Path to the Peaks, just an extremely powerful and popular card coming into this tournament. Giratina featured it probably most prominently, and then Mew decks potentially either featured that or they were going on that like Alessa Sparkle, more aggressive engine that Vance ended up winning Worlds with. I think I would rank this one higher than 2024 personally, for a lot of the same reasons Andrew was saying. I wouldn't consider this like all-time great format, but I think it's cool. I think it's one that's fun to play, and I think the decks are just more fun to have in your hands and play around with as compared to the 2024 ones. Like, playing the Lost Zone engine is pretty satisfying when you're doing it. Playing with Mew is really satisfying when you're playing it. Gardevoir was kind of crazy at this time as well. You had refinement and things like that. So, I think this is a cool one.
I think what's unique about this one compared to some of the more recent formats is that, a lot of these decks have their own little mini games. You're playing the mini game, of course, with the Lost Zone.
It is like that.
You're playing the mini game with the Lost Zone. You're playing the mini game with, maximizing your Genesect draws. You're playing the mini game of, Curlias, getting your Curlias out turn 2. You're playing the mini game of getting the Archeops down. That's really fun to me. I think this is an interesting format. I do have this one built. I'm trying to build up my old format, Worlds format, deck lists, and so I have the top 3 lists built, and along with the Lugia, and I think that provides a good snapshot for the 2023 World Championships. So I would tend to agree with you, Riley. I think this is above 2024, not what I would consider like a must-have in terms of, a format that you like need to build. But if you like these decks, I say give it a whirl and put some investment there.
Yeah, to me, this one could even I could see this being on maybe the upper echelon of C tier is maybe where it fits in my mind.
Upper C.
Yeah, to me, it's like it's BC. to me.
Yeah,
somewhere there.
it's like kind of on that border for me. I do think it's a lot better than 2024.
To
because of
me,
some things you're
like
saying.
this is my favorite Worlds format, probably like post-COVID. So like
2023. It was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
You know, I know a lot of people like 2025, but like I'm not a lot of people there. So like for me, that's my favorite post-COVID format is 2023. So
yeah, let's talk about another dud. I think 2022. This was in
total
London.
stinker, dude.
London,
disaster.
Sword and
Just
Shield,
absolute
through
cheeks.
Pokemon
Cheeks.
Go, and yeah, this was a tough one. The winning deck. And it's funny that I say that because this is the Worlds format that I have the best finish at.
We saw,
which is only a top. It's only a top 64. We were like 2 cards off the winning list, and I might argue, there was, reason to think that we had a slightly better list for whatever it's worth. I did end up losing in, I think, round 4 to the second place finisher, and I just wonder, like, what would have changed if I could have gotten past him, because I do think we had the best deck in the room. It just wasn't meant to be. So Andre Skubal winning with the Arceus Pikachu. This was the deck that Azul had won NAIC with, but most of the top players at this World Championships played Palkia, and you just see it dominating here on the list.
Yeah, there was something very uninteresting about, and I'll say this a lot. It's like when the search and power level of search is too high, to me the game gets less interesting. Like you have to have some sort of like balance going on where you're not just guaranteed everything you want every single turn, or else you just get this, right? Where you have like Arceus V-Star getting the exact combination of cards you need on turn 2 to launch the same exact play on turn 2 every single time. Or you've got Drizzile and Inteleon using Shady Dealings to get you the exact cards you want out of your deck every single turn. It's just, to me, there's a point where it becomes too much.
Well, here's what you're missing, Andrew, is that you don't do it every single game because the variance lies in whether or not you draw Battle VIP Pass. That's where the real fun. That's where the real fun of these kinds of formats happen. Is whether or not you draw Battle VIP Pass turn 1.
I mean, like legitimately though, right? Like,
I mean, it's not a joke, right? Like it's.
Oh no, I know. Yeah,
that's legit, right? It's and these decks had a bit of an inherent consistency advantage because not only could you play the Battle VIP Pass, but you also played the Irida, which just sets up your field, to a degree that most other decks couldn't match. And so it was certainly Palkia's tournament coming into the World Championships. Now that sets the stage pretty well for a deck that features a stage 1 310 HP lightning Pokemon that can one-shot everything in the water deck. But I don't look very fondly at this format. I mean, these
are just time playing it. To be honest,
these are like VMAX and V-Stars slugging into each other. Formats that I've critiqued very heavily while they were standard, and just are disinteresting to me while they're kind of formats of bygone days. The Palkia deck to me felt like it had just like way too much perfect synergy with itself. You have the whole Irida thing, which gets all the Inteleon pieces, gets all the Palkia pieces. Palkia sets up your entire board for free. Synergizes perfectly with Radiant Greninja. Like, just the deck, it was just like you have it all right there. It's built there, right there for you, and you slug and your one shots basically everything, which was uninteresting to me. And the response to that is also kind of uninteresting. It's just you try and shut them down with Path, and you swing with Pikachu, and you hope they don't have some sort of one-shot combo for it. So, like, yeah, I don't know. This is kind of a nothing burger to me of a format. Like, not one I have any interest to really re-exploring. The only good outcome of this format, in my mind, was the discovery of Mew Path at the side events in this tournament, and that was what informed the Mew year to come, which is an era that I look back on fondly. So.
Yeah,
I
even
think
these
my major issue with kind of the design philosophy of V-Stars and V-Maxes, which we'll get into as we go further back. Though most V-Maxes are kind of lost to history, I guess. This was the first this is the first World Championship format, since 2019. So like we're about to actually just like leapfrog right on over those. But my major issue with the design philosophy of like the V-Stars and V-Maxes, I mean, they had the same design philosophy, to be honest, was that your board was made up of these 2 prize liabilities that were largely very uninteresting. And then they kind of evolved into these like supercharged behemoths that could like make game-changing plays on turn 2, right? So the person who went first was very advantaged because they would get the first V-Star or V-Max into play and be able to start the prize trade, probably by taking 2 prizes against one of your stupid Vs that you had in play, right? Which you had to have in play because all the best cards evolve from them, right? So like that is one of my biggest issues with kind of the flow of playing this format, is it just didn't feel great in that regard. Every single deck was trying to just go 2-4-6 as fast as possible, and it didn't feel like there was anything interesting happening between the decks as they were trying to go 2-4-6. It was just, yeah.
I mean, I just feel like the Vs are a terrible dud, particularly the V Maxes. I think prior to probably Palkia coming out, it was besides maybe Mew with the power tablets, every V-Star and V-Max was fundamentally attached twice to a card and 2-hit knockout something that has like equivalent hit points, or 1-hit KO like a base V. Like pretty much every V or V-Max you'll read prior to like Mew and Lugia does that, and that's when the entire like card pool can be shrunken down to that. That just sucks. That's terrible game design.
Yep.
So where are we putting it? 2022. I think we're kind of.
That's a D.
Dude, that's a D tier.
D.
That's
probably
maybe
above 2024, right?
It's like
no.
I don't know. I actually think it's worse.
No, way worse. Yeah.
Way worse. All right.
Yeah, dude.
I don't know if I call it way
worst.
worse, but I think it's worse.
The worst format.
Also, I got COVID at this
thus
tournament.
far. You did. It
That
was
was
it was a
traumatizing.
personally.
So I got to give it
horrible
some
event.
neg for giving me COVID too, because the format was so ill that it gave me COVID.
All right, let's talk about 2019. Andrew, you want to bring us in?
Yeah, 2019. I loved Pikarom at this time. This was a Pikarom year for me. In this format, it was all tag teams. I mean, tag teams were kind of dominating at this time. You have Ultra Prism through Unified Minds. So it's a Sun and Moon format, like latter half of the Sun and Moon era. Tag team Pokemon debuted in Team Up, which kind of brought Pikachu and Zekrom Tag Team GX onto the scene. Then you had Unbroken Bonds. You got Reshiram and Charizard on the scene with that. And you've got Unified Minds, Mewtwo and Mew. Those are going to be like your major tag team players, but also shouts to Guardy Sylveon. I know Riley had a good run with Guardy Sylveon. Guardy Sylveon also pretty well represented here with a 9th place finish at the World Championships. Yeah, Guardy Sylveon got you that top 32 placements. Pretty
I lost
sweet.
my winning in, which sucked.
Yeah,
But-
man.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
this format was,
Yeah.
in my mind, defined by Mewtwo and Mew as like the big bad player coming into this tournament, right? Unified Minds had dropped, Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX came out alongside that, and so everything kind of centered around, in my mind, like Mewtwo and how to deal with like this new player on the scene. And so you see really heavy like power plants being played. You see like Pikarom just trying to go like maximum aggressiveness. And then you have like the Reshiram Charizard Turbo deck, which was kind of like a secret deck going into the tournament that would just blow up the Mewtwo's to kick off the prize exchange and then outtrade from there. This format, we kind of slandered tag teams, but I feel like this honestly is a more interesting format than some of the prior ones we'd reviewed in 2022 and 2024. there's some cool engines going on here. The Gardevoir deck was cool. The Mewtwo deck was so versatile and interesting. And also, shout out to Isaiah and that whole group for the most insane broken stall strategy.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe
ever.
Like
Shout
in
out
standard.
to Jimmy Pendarvis claimed that he created this deck in a room by himself, and I'll never forget it. It is it's an all-timer quote for me. My wife Natalie was like talking to Jimmy, R.I.P. I was talking to Jimmy and was like, "Oh yeah, your guy's deck," and he like stopped her like mid sentence and was like, "Your guy's deck? Excuse me, that's my deck. I made it in a room by myself. Those freeloaders just took it and played it."
I love Jimmy.
Yeah, love Jimmy for that. That's such a great Jimmyism, and now is like a thing that lives on in our vocabulary forever. Not like, no, I made this deck in a room by myself, but. Yeah, it's this format. I mean, honestly, it's a big basic format, right? I mean, there's no trying away from that.
Quintessentially big basic.
It is a big basic format. Not just any big basic format. These are big basic Pokemon that have the ability to one-hit KO each other and take and give up free
These are the biggest, baddest basics to ever exist.
These are the craziest big
to
basics.
this day.
I mean,
yes,
what's the highest
ever...
placing? Is there even a stage 2 here? Like I'm looking down
the
list.
Were there stage 2s even viable at this time? I can't think of a single one.
That's what I'm saying.
Omastar, right there.
Oh,
right
here
there.
we go. Alex Szymanski.
Okay, that deck.
Yep.
Sorry,
that deck
Alex.
was
That deck was not good. It was really bad.
You know.
Yeah.
I beat
honest,
Alex in Swiss. And
yeah.
If Guardy's beating this, then I don't know.
No, that deck wasn't great. But yes, evolutions were like not very viable. The only evolutions that were viable are stage 1s that support your big basic. So that's going to be Blacephalon with Naganadel. That's going to be Ultra Necrozma with your Malamar. That's going to be, I think there's another one on there I just saw. What is it? Is there a Weavile there?
Those are the main ones.
Crazy,
really.
bro.
We got the Pidgeot.
Yeah, those are the main ones. I see a
Pidgeotto.
Weavile Naganadel there, though.
Yep.
Zach Kreckler, that's a crazy deck. Top 16. But anyways, this is your big bad basic format with stage 1s kind of like floating around as little, assisting engines here and there. But it's all about how the tag teams and the Pokemon GX interact with one another. But to be honest, we're going to look back through other big basic formats as we go back through the years. And I'm not saying that I want to exist in a big basic format forever, but I'm also not mad that they exist as part of like TCG's canon in history. I think there's something that's kind of uniquely fun about them. I don't want the game to ever linger or stay there forever, but like they're kind of iconic to me, and they're fast paced, which is kind of fun. You could just churn out a bunch of games and it is what it is, and they can be intricate actually. So I'd look back fondly on this format. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I feel like this is a great like Pokemon entry level Worlds format. If you're trying to get into retro, I feel like this is a really good one to just like teach somebody with. Right, you're not looking at anything that's too deep.
Yeah, ignore the prices of the cards, though.
Well, okay,
oh, yeah,
that's a whole other story.
That's a whole
here,
different cast, yeah.
But in terms of how the decks play, how they function, I think this is a really this would be one that I would be very comfortable, sharing with my wife or playing with, my nephews or something like that. Just the concepts and the strategies here are pretty simple, but I do agree. It's
whipping
largely
out the Pidgey against your nephews.
Okay, excluding Pidgeotto control, excluding that.
You're gonna learn today, buddy.
Get ready to learn Orangaroo.
Oh yeah.
So where do we have it? I think we're kind of leaning higher than D, somewhere in that C.
Yeah, like bottom
range.
of C.
Bottom of
range.
C. Okay.
Maybe.
All right. Well, Riley, why don't you take us into Worlds 2018? What's that looking like?
Yeah, so Worlds 2018 is one I am especially fond of personally. This is a format with Zoroark GX, one of the most iconic Pokemon TCG cards of all time. The trade ability, draw 2 cards, Ritus beating. Also heavily influenced by both of the Garbodor cards, which are also some of the most influential Pokemon TCG cards of all time. You have the Trashalanche and the Garbotoxin. So you got ability lock and punishing heavy item play. And despite that insanely powerful combination of cards, there is a lot of stuff going on in this format, but it's not in a way where it feels like slop. There's a lot of really cool decks. You have Rayquaza, which was the hot new thing onto the scene at the time. Rayquaza GX, discarding your own cards at the top of your deck. You think that'd be terrible against these like Trashalanche engines, but what you find is it has like just enough HP to, with the aggression that it's putting onto the board, that it can get away with that. So Rayquaza is like swinging for one shots on turn 1 or 2, which is a complete opposite vibe to the Zoroark deck. You have Buzzwole decks, more traditional like Buzzrock type decks, which is the deck that Andrew, Natalie, and I had played at the World Championship, where Buzzrock was an iconic deck for now years, and just going really aggressive and trying to knuckle sandwich people with your Buzzwole GX. With the Octillery Engine to draw cards, a classic iconic card with the Abyssal Hand. You have like Golisopod Zoroark variants, which I think were kind of underrated in this format. You have the secret like Buzzwole Garbodor deck, which went on to dominate like the Post-Worlds format with the Trashalanche combined with single prize Buzzwole, amongst many other like cool, interesting strategies. The tournament was ultimately won by Robin Schultz with his Zoroark Garbodor deck, which to me is like one of the coolest Worlds lists maybe ever. Like, this is a list I have built myself fully in Japanese. I acquired all the cards when we were in Japan at the World Championship because I love this format. I love this list. And it's just so fun to sling and play. Like, there's a lot of cool strategy going on both sides of the table, and every single game you play, you have like cool engines and cool setup. There's N in the format, so you got that disruption. There's ability lock in the format, so there's a little bit of tapering and like push and pull on the decks going on. I rank this one like extremely highly. Like, to me, this is a A or S tier format.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that I really like the 2017-2018 era. I really like the kind of all the things that you mentioned. There's the ability lock. That's a big plus for me on a format, having the ability to like turn off other people's abilities. And in this case, I think just such an interesting deck, turning off your own abilities. Parallel City is like an all-time card for me, such a powerful card, and how you play it. Puzzle of Time, Field Blowers, all these cards that kind of just allow you to manipulate the board in a lot of ways, and not just manipulate your opponent's side of the board, but your own board, using Field Blower on your own Pokemon to break that ability lock and then reestablish the ability lock afterwards. Some really cool interactions happening in this format. You've got your kind of intricate decks that have a lot of game actions like Zoroark GX decks, but then you've also got your beat stick decks like your Buzzwole GX, your Rayquaza GX. I think that there's a lot to love about this format, so I'm cool ranking it highly as well. To me, it feels like an A tier format.
And one thing I want to highlight too is pacing feels really good. Zoroark certainly is going to have a lot of those actions, but by and large, you're looking at the Zoroark base decks that have a lot of game actions and a lot of different things they can do, and then you have the Buzzwole decks that kind of fit in that middle, and then you have the all-out aggression of Rayquaza. So whatever your play style is, I feel like you can really gravitate toward one of the main archetypes of this format. I think this is great. There's a lot of different ways you can go about approaching this format. I do agree with you, Riley, that the Zoroark Garbodor is probably the like quintessential. When I think of just Worlds winning deck lists, I think of Robin's deck. This to me, just holds a very important place, and it was unique at the time. I just want to highlight the uniqueness of his build, because he played a lot of these Zoroark Garbodor decks at the time played Ultra Ball, but what Robin decided was like, actually I do want to guarantee the turn 1 Bridget, playing the 4 Mysterious Treasure, and like it just my third eye opened when I saw this list because of how brilliant that change was.
Yeah, the Treasure Evosoda build is to me, it's so iconic. The
Yeah.
town map as well. Yeah, let's throw a town map in there.
I know.
Iconic.
I know. It was so good. It was so
To
good.
go get
So,
like the puzzle when you need it. I mean, it's broken. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
Town Map as a card.
yeah, this
So
is just
cool.
a fun deck to play. But like, if I have a gauntlet of 2018 Worlds decks, like I'm not mad no matter the deck that I'm playing. Right? It's like if you're
agree.
giving me Rayquaza, like I am having a blast playing it. If you're giving me Buzzwole, I am having a blast playing it. Like Zoroark, I am just enjoying the heck out of it. So I rate this one pretty highly. For me, this is probably a low S tier, high A tier, and so I wonder where you guys put it.
I kind of think the same as you. I would personally maybe err on that S side, but I'm also a Zark believer to my core. That was
think
like
the
the only
thing
deck I
that-
played for 2 years.
There's not a lot of diversity amongst the top decks in this format, but I think like famously, as I have heard said and also will say, is that diversity does not equal good. Does not mean there's good gameplay. Just because a lot of decks are viable doesn't mean like that the interaction between those decks is particularly good. Sometimes what that means when there's a lot of decks viable is that they're all just doing something stinky. so like that's why there's
Lost
so many
Thunder
viable
format,
decks. It's
perhaps.
because they all suck. Yeah. So I think that this to me feels like an A tier format, but if you guys want to throw it in S tier, I'm okay with that. I'm
Yeah,
also
screw
okay
it.
with top of A.
Screw it. Let's throw it in S and see where
Just
we
see
get
where
to.
things shake
Yeah,
out from
see
there.
where things
It can
shake
always
out.
get demoted at the end. Sure.
Yeah, that's right. So, Andrew, you said you were a big fan of this era. So walk us through the format at the 2017 World Championships.
Yeah, this format is actually a format that comes directly after my favorite format, my favorite modern format, the 2017 NAIC format. This format adds the set with Gardevoir, is that Burning
Burning
Shadows?
Shadows.
Yeah, adds Burning Shadows to the equation. So it has changed slightly from the NAIC formats, but what's so cool about this is that you've got the GX Pokemon and you've got cards from the X and Y era still. And to me, that is such a cool melting pot of like the two eras. Getting all of like the high power level cards from the XY era, your Versus Seekers, your cards like that is all just crazy. Trainer's Mail, you know. You got some high power level trainers in there that really make playing these Pokemon GX exciting. You've got high power level XY era cards like your Vileplume, which we see there in top 16. Your Garbodors also with their ability locking. Just a lot of really, really cool stuff there. Mega Rayquaza, we see showing up in the top 16 too. You're
the
getting some of
tail
those
end of
Mega
its life.
Pokemon EX, right?
Yep.
Mega Pokemon EX in the format, mixing it up with your new Pokemon GX. So to me, this is a really cool blend of like the best that the XY has to offer, right? You've got Octillery in this World's Winning list with its Abyssal Hand. You've got Gallade as well from Breakthrough, but then you've also got the new age, the Pokemon GX. And so I've got a lot of fond memories of this format. I mean, Hex Maniac is such a cool card as well. I was saying before how much I love Ability Lock and how it interacts with formats. I think it's very important to have some of that. I think that, historically, Pokemon doesn't have hand traps, right? I mean, there was a time where they tried that out, but I don't think hand traps are necessarily very, good for the identity of the Pokemon TCG. But I do think that Ability Lock is very important for the identity of the Pokemon TCG. So any format that has Ability Lock in it, I tend to like those formats because I think the gameplay is more interesting. But yeah, so Hex Maniac with Versus Seeker gives you that potential to Ability Lock, throughout the game. It's supporter based, so you have to sacrifice your supporter for the turn in order to do it. And I think that the balance of that within this format is right on the money. I love it. To me, this is the S tier format of the two between 2017 and 2018. I'm ranking this one S tier.
That's a hot take. That's interesting.
For sure.
I feel like
To me, it's this
2017.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like 2017 NAIC was like one of my favorite formats ever, and I feel like Burning Shadows introduction only took away from that format.
Guzma.
Like Guzma and Golisopod and Gardevoir, like felt like they took away, like losing the Zoroark break deck and the Metagross deck falling out of viability, and like Drampa kind of falling off in favor of like Espeon really picking up. Like all of those felt like net negatives to me as compared to the national championship format this year.
National championship's definitely better. I just can't put that on the ranking, so I'm gonna put this one in S tier instead. Though it's not as good.
I feel like if it was all formats ever, I would put the Nats format in S tier. Like maybe this one could go in A. Like I don't know. I did not like playing the Burning Shadows format very much personally. Like especially when the format persisted. You know, it's like you're having your Guardies like slug into each other. The Gardevoir deck went on to kind of like really dominate the post World's exploration of the format.
Yeah. I mean, losing Zoroark sucked. That was such a cool deck. And then Gardevoir is just this huge Pokemon that resists dark, and like you just couldn't play that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this format's fine to me. Like I would put it like low A, high B maybe.
Yeah.
I feel like 2017 is notably more interesting and more fun.
Yeah,
Or 2018, sorry.
I also have this format built. And I mean I really like, the Volcanion deck. We didn't give that a shout, but that was a very iconic deck from the time, right? I personally like Golisopod. I think that's really fun as an archetype. So I think this is okay. I don't give it the S tier lean that maybe Andrew would. I am in that like pretty solid A tier for me.
Then let's put it in
A then. Yeah.
We'll call it A.
Fine.
All right.
I do like Golisopod a lot as a card.
It's crazy
what
because
we
we're about
lost
to get
in
in
the process.
It's just so good.
We're about to get into probably the worst Worlds format ever.
I don't know if that's true. Do you think that's true? You
2016.
You really think that's true? 2016. All right, well, walk us through.
Absolutely.
Make your case.
2016. All right. So you got 3 decks. You got Night March, you got your Greninja, and you got your Trevenant, right? Trevenant Break. I think playing at this Worlds, I decided to play Greninja, and 3 of my first 4 rounds were all against Trevenant Break, and I played against 1 Night March. That was my run. And the Trevenant Break decks could item lock turn 1 going first, which just could completely lock you out of playing the game altogether. Night March is like not a deck that plays well against Trevenant at all. That's the reason why Trevenant was so popular. And like a lot of that matchup just comes down to like who goes first, can I draw hot while I'm getting end under item lock? Will I eventually miss a beat and lose the game? Greninja is this setup deck, but you have to try and set up while your opponent is item locking you. But then if you do get to the setup, then you can kind of just ability lock and rain water shurikens all over the board and mount these like crazy comebacks where you're taking sweeping multi-prize knockouts and so on and so forth. To me, this just kind of sucked to play and to play through. It didn't feel like there was a lot of thought between like, oh, well, it's like Greninja, Night March, or Trev. Like, okay, well, this all sucks, man. Like, none of this is fun to play against each other.
But you're forgetting
And
the
then
turn
Worlds
1
ended up-
item lock of Vileplume.
Yeah, sure. That's also a thing you can do. Sure. And then you can lock your opponent out of playing Pokemon with special energies or evolutions or basics. Yep, that sounds great, doesn't it? Yeah, this looks like a real winner.
This is a format that's like strongly defined in my mind by item lock. Like the whole season, honestly, it was strongly defined by item lock. You had Seismitoad, you had Trevenant, you had Vileplume, all major players over the course of the year. Shintaro with this bizarre Mega Audino counter deck, somehow like sifting the path through Night Marches and Greninjas to win. But that's like not representative of the format as a whole, which was like pretty miserable to play. Volcanion was also printed in this format. It was Steam Siege Worlds format. But this was not like the tournament for Volcanion to shine with this extreme emphasis on item lock, and Greninja is like the one non-item lock deck that's being played, which is like a hard counter to Volcanion. Rough times out here for sure.
I think there are some gems. I don't think Mega Audino is a particularly strong inclusion, ironically, for like it's not very representative for this format. So if I was building this format, I might exclude it. But I think that you have
so iconic.
I know. I think you do have some gems. Like you look at, this is probably the best, that the Greninja Break deck ever was, right? It had probably the most representation here, 3 in the top 16. You have Metal Box, Gustavo getting a top 8 there. Vespiquen was very fun deck in my opinion, and so there's some gems here. I will agree.
You can play
Andrew,
Greninja at 2017 NAIC format, and you can play Greninja at 2018 or 2017 Worlds format. You play Greninja both those. I think I saw Greninja in top 16 of Worlds 2018.
But I think this was the peak, right? We all agree this was the peak for
at
Greninja.
What cost?
I feel like the Greninja decks actually felt worse to play somehow, because you're playing it in the context of this format, and you're playing these like Talonflame builds, which just felt horrible in my opinion. I think the more streamlined
gotta open
Greninjas.
It. I've got 3 Froakie in my deck. So that I open my Talonflame more, because I have to, because I'm gonna get turn 1 item locked, so I have to open this idiot.
Like if you look at the 2018 Greninja lists that they're playing like heavy max potions, they got the Starmie line in there, like that looks like a more fun deck for me to play.
All right, so it sounds like we're pretty sour on 2016. So where do you want to put it?
Yeah, dude, it's bottom of D tier, the lowest corner, dude. Like, I'm telling you, it is the pits.
Yeah, I might genuinely revisit 2022 before 2016. So.
Like, I'm literally not going back there. There's 2015 right around the corner. Like, well, just pick another year. Either pick 2017 or 2015. Do not go to 2016. There's nothing to see there.
That is funny. Well, let's talk about 2015. 2015 deck, Jacob Wagner taking the Blastoise deck to a top finish, playing against Mies Brennickmeyer in the finals. We had a format that had Night March, it had Trevenant, it had Seismitoad, but you also had these other very interesting decks. I think of the Mega Groudon, of course, Blastoise Keldeo, that won this year. I find this to be a pretty interesting format, pretty unique format.
Fun fact about this
shouts
format
out to that 9th place finisher right there.
Oh,
pretty handsome guy.
Oh yeah. Andrew
Bubbled
does
out of
well.
top 8.
Andrew does well. Thinks it's a good format.
Bubbled out of top 8. 5-1-1. Kind of hurt.
I guess you should have won 6 games. I don't know what to tell you.
Bubbled out of top 8 on opponent's resistance. The resistance was tied.
Dang,
opponent's
hurts.
Resistance. Yeah, dude. It did hurt.
If only one of your opponents tried to help you out a little bit.
One more game.
Yeah.
I just needed, I had an opponent. My round 2 opponents went 0-6-1. And if he had just won maybe a few more,
maybe one,
we would not have been in this situation. Yeah, but I thought this format was a lot of fun to play. I think that it's kind of your quintessential XY turbo format, in my opinion. You've got all the most broken fun things that the XY and black and white pools have to offer. You've got Ace-Specs, you've got Versus Seeker, you've got Shaman EX, you've got the Blastoise deck winning it all, and it's Rain Dance, but not the old-fashioned way. You've got this completely insane gimmick where you're summoning the Blastoise from your discard pile by whittling your hand down to just a single card in order to do it. You've got the ancient trait Pokemon like that Articuno that can take multiple prizes if you take a knockout there for the Night March counter.
And I just
got Night March.
Yeah, well, before you go off, I do want you to continue on with this, but I just want to mention here for listeners to add a little bit more lore to this. This Blastoise deck was a joke. This Blastoise deck was a joke at NAIC or the national format, national tournament. There was a top 16 finisher with this Blastoise deck, and like
Steve Guthrie.
Yeah, Steve Guthrie preached the gospel on Blastoise, and then people started picking it up. Like no one had played it before NAIC. There was one player, I think Steve got a top 16, and then
yes, he did.
This was almost a secret deck, and went on to win the world championship. So
Blastoise
and
Night March. Blastoise and Night March were secret decks.
Yeah.
Going into this Worlds.
Yeah.
Both of them. The national tournament had taken place just a month before, and like those two decks were nowhere to be seen. Then come Worlds, everybody kind of comes to the same conclusions independently. Information is not just like widespread. There are no online tournaments happening. There is no Limitless, to net decks from and things like that. So you just had all these independent groups kind of coming to the same conclusions, and it was really a fun time to be playing the Pokemon TCG. The decks were explosive. This is like Night March's heyday. This is the best that Night March ever was right here. And I don't think that they'll ever print a single prize deck quite like Night March ever again. They've rehashed the Night March idea over and over and over again, but they have done it a disservice every time. It's never been as good as it was here.
Let's not gloss over the fact that it's all enabled by Battle Compressor, one of the most broken items of all time.
Which is
for sure.
Yeah.
A card they'll never revisit.
Yes. Exactly. Well, Battle Compressor and Night March are printed in the same expansion because they were printed for each other.
Yeah.
So Battle Compressor's an A spec now.
Yeah. So this format is just super fun. There's a lot of high power level stuff, but it's cool. I don't know. It kind of introduced that kind of like turbo lifestyle. When you think of expanded format, you think of a lot of the cards from like this era are like expanded cards, right? Like they don't make trainer cards that are quite like these anymore. They tend to make the Pokemon
XY.
Yeah, they've been like power creeping the crap out of like Pokemon lately, but the trainers were very high power level at this time. The Pokemon were not as high power level, but the trainers were higher power level, which is kind of very indicative of how this format was. And to me, that made things very fun. It made things very fun. This kind of feels like expanded format with the way that the trainers are. But modern Pokemon feels a lot different with the Pokemon being higher power level, the trainers being lower power level.
Yeah, you have what many would consider to be one of the worst kind of combos in Pokemon history, and that's the Seismitoad DCE Hypnotoxic Laser combo, where you can just item lock right out of the gate and put your opponent to sleep, and they cannot do anything asleep and under item lock. Sometimes for multiple turns, right? And so that is, I think, a knock for me on this format. You do have the explosive Blastoise deck that can run players off the board very quickly. It can also fall flat on its face and get item locked and have no play. You have the Seismitoad. I think this is kind of the steady deck of the format, right? You could beat the Night Marches, you could beat the Blastoise decks, you could beat a wide array of whatever else you see, but you're employing this very toxic combo. I don't love the 2015 format. I think it's like not the worst. I think it's not the best. I'm somewhere in the middle with it.
To me, this is like a BC.
Yeah.
Kind of format. Like it's pretty fun. You got some really high power level stuff. It's like expanded light, like preview of what expanded.
That's what I'm
eventually
saying. It's unique in that way.
Seeing Archie's Blastoise in a standard format's like really sick for sure. That was.
You got Primal Groudon. You got
staple.
Mega Pokemon. You got the bats. The bats are undeniably cool. The bats are undeniably cool. They're undeniably cool.
I give this format some slight props because it's what got me into the card game. I had played the World's decks for this format at my local league, which I had gone to play a video game at Ohio State, and I was so impressed by Professor Sycamore that I knew, coming off of playing Yu-Gi-Oh as a kid that I knew I needed to play more Pokemon. So
All right.
B is looking lonely. Yeah.
Our first B entry.
I'm cool with that. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
2014 Worlds. 2014 Worlds. Let's take a look
Virgin.
here. Virizion Genesect absolutely dominating. You do have the Blastoise Keldeo deck a little bit different. Of course, you have Yveltal Garbodor, one of my favorite decks of all time. And then you have this weird Mega Kangaskhan list that we'll take a look at in just a second. But Andrew, why don't you walk us through the 2014 World Championships?
Yeah, I mean, Virizion Genesect comes onto the scene and it's just an absolute powerhouse. I mean,
what a card.
Absolutely insane deck. You've got Virizion EX with the Verdant Wind ability. I mean, a direct counter to Seismitoad EX strategies, because Verdant Wind makes it so that any Pokemon with grass energy attached to it. Wait.
Yeah,
it is. It's counted, but Seismitoad hasn't come out yet, right? No. Sorry, I'm getting lost because we're going backwards. So
no, we're going backwards. Seismitoad's
Seismitoad is not out at this time.
No, but it is like, I don't know. Okay, so it's not a counter to Seismitoad. Excuse me, I misspoke. It's a direct counter to the Hypnotoxic Laser strategy.
That is correct. Yes.
That's what
yes, which had been dominant in the Pokemon TCG. Sorry, I just like link Seismitoad and Laser in my mind so tightly, but like Seismitoad's like an XY era card, and this is Plasma Blast. This is Black-White era. The Verdant Wind stops the Hypnotoxic Laser from putting your Pokemon to sleep, which is huge. I mean, it stops the poison damage too. So you've got that built-in protection from the Virizion. But then Virizion also has the Emerald Slash attack, which accelerates 2 grass energy from your deck to your bench Pokemon. You'll load those energy up on Genesect EX. Genesect EX, just such a powerhouse card. It's got the Red Signal ability. When you attach a Plasma Energy to it, it's like a Gust effect, Catcher effect. And then you've also got the G-Booster Ace Spec, which is just constructed for it. You discard 2 energy from the Pokemon, and it does 200 damage, which one-hit KOs everything in the format. Virizion EX, in a lot of ways, kind of feels like an Arceus V-Star type card, just, For those of you that maybe are more familiar with the modern card pool, it feels that way. It's like a turn 1, I attach 1 energy to my Virizion, say pass. Turn 2, I attach my second energy to Virizion, I say Emerald Slash, and I power up the boys, and then I play the rest of the game off of that. That is exactly how Virizion Genesect rolls. Virizion does 50 damage with Emerald Slash. Genesect has an attack that does 100 damage and 20 damage snipe. So you can see how that very much adds up, right? Like the 50 plus 100, that's 150. With 20 extra, you're starting to get into that 170 range, right? And you can really like kind of piece together the knockouts just so on your opponent's Pokemon. Yveltal was definitely a big bad coming into this time, and Virizion Genesect played very well against the Yveltal decks, which is one of the reasons why it did so well.
Yeah, solid overview. I mean, this is another one where if you're looking to build some old format decks, this might be an entry point for me. You talked about the simplicity of the Virizion Genesect deck, but I found it to be pretty fun to play against Yveltal, right? Like those are the 2 metagame defining decks from this format. You had the ability lock of the Garbodor and the Yveltal, so you could, later on in the game after you've established the Garbodor, get around the Verdant Wind ability on the Virizion, to do your Hypnotoxic Laser stuff and build up a huge Yveltal. Like I find that even though these are relatively simplistic decks, you are having to think multiple turns ahead in terms of where your energy attachments go, what you're powering up for, future turns. And there are, again, like some gems here, right? You can play a stage 2 in the Keldeo Blastoise deck, right? That is kind of a precursor to what we're going to see in the Supercharged 2015 format. You do have these like mega Aromatisse deck we haven't taken a look at, but that was a lot of fun. Just being able to attach energy and bring up whatever counter Pokemon makes the most sense for the matchup that you're playing. So I find this to be like a really good entry format for players, and I enjoy it a lot.
To me,
I'm kind of like,
it's like
on Virgin personally. Like it feels
it's a
kinda
big
similar
basic
to
format,
Arceus.
but it's not the best one.
Yeah, it's like fine.
I feel like it's just all right. Yeah, it's all right. It's C tier to me. Virizion Genesect is like not that interesting of a top dog, to be honest. It's cool in that it's one of the best grass decks ever. Like, I mean, grass like historically doesn't get a lot of love.
It's true.
I don't think.
It's true.
But outside of that, it is certainly iconic. Like having the plasma engine just be so good was cool.
We're gonna get
we're
to
about
the plasma
to get
engine,
way more into plasma.
We're getting way more into plasma for sure. But to me, that's a C tier.
It's like a C tier format.
Yeah. Very good. All right, plasma. Talk to me about the plasma engine in Worlds 2013. This was the end of Darkrai's dominance. Riley, why don't you walk us through 2013?
Yeah, so for the unfamiliar, Plasma was probably the most successful villain team implementation maybe ever in the Pokemon TCG.
For sure.
Probably the most wholehearted, if nothing else, implementation of a villain team. So the idea with the Plasma cards is they had very tight synergy across each other. You had cards like Deoxys EX that you could stack onto your bench, do much more damage. You had cards like Thundurus, which with the additions of Deoxys, you could use Raiden Knuckle to accelerate energy onto your board while also dealing high damage. And Raiden Knuckle also could accelerate special energy. So you'll notice the TDK deck in question, the Plasma deck, plays entirely special energy, and that's not a problem. It's just going to accelerate those from the deck with the Colress machine, from the discard pile with the Thundurus. Colress machine grabs a Team Plasma energy and just slaps it onto one of your Pokemon straight from the deck. And the idea with the Plasma deck really is that you accelerate energy onto the board with your Thundurus, and then you use your Lugia and your Kyurem to either take multi-prize knockouts or to just get damage all over your opponent's board. And it was a very effective, efficient strategy. And so this was far and away the most popular deck coming into the 2013 World Championship. And you really see that reflected in the standings as well. We had 3 of them in the top 8, several more in the top 16, and just overarching stats, far and away the most popular deck in the day 2 of this World Championship. What was kind of interesting, though, is that it didn't end up winning the World Championship. This was Jason Klaczynski's final World Championship win, his 3rd World Championship win with his Darkrai Sableye deck. Darkrai had, like JW said, kind of fallen out of favor coming into this format. Darkrai was previously the top dog. Last episode we were talking about Darkrai as like kind of a all-time defining card, being able to swing for 2-hit KOs into the opposing EXs with Night Spear, and having that like pretty clean engine with the dark patches and being able to get energy onto the board quickly. It resisted Psychic from the Mewtwo as well. Jason's twist on the deck was playing extremely heavy Darkrai with the Sableyes, Junk Hunt Sableye, which is one of the strongest, probably basic Pokemon attacks ever. Junk Hunt, retrieving 2 items from the discard pile. Dustin Zimmerman also heavily featuring Sableye in his top 4 deck, which would go on to be a blight on the expanded format. To me, this format, like, I don't know. The Plasma deck is really fun. I don't think this is a format like I personally like to revisit frequently. The Plasma deck is fun by virtue of being the Plasma deck and having like the cool villain stuff going on. But there wasn't, like, in my opinion, enough sauce going on outside of it in the format. Yeah, Blastoise, which is cool. Evolving Blastoise, mind you, which is awesome. I know Andrew loves that deck. Yeah, this format's like fine to me. It's like a BC.
To me, this is like the premier big basic black and white era.
I agree.
All-time big basics.
I agree. All-time big basics.
This is it.
That's fair.
And one of the things that I think is so cool about this format is there's no Shaman EX, there's no Jirachi EX. There is your supporters, there is your items, and that's it. So in practice, what that means is that the turns are short and snappy, and there's a very quick volley back and forth between you and your opponent, which makes the format very fun to play. Also, there's real punishment when you get end. If you get end at the end of the game and you don't have the board to back up your next attack or whatever, then you could just fall apart and lose. And things like 6-1 comebacks were possible because of how powerful N was in this format. And if you were just like playing the plasma deck and just going, and then like didn't really plan for the future and, maybe took too many prizes too fast, then you get N to low, then a sweep could happen. Because you didn't have like the safety net of things like Pheasantipity EX and whatever drawing you a million cards. I think there's something really cool and wholesome about that. Decks like Blastoise that need more of a setup, they played Tropical Beach, right? Which is a stadium card that allows you to end your turn by filling your hand to 7. So like you could have that draw power at the expense of passing the turn. And that to me, I feel like is almost like a lost art in the Pokemon TCG, is like sacrificing your turn to like do something to advance the board, right? Which is what makes it more of a fun board game to me, is like when we're both taking quick turns and going back and forth. That to me makes the game like its premier mode. So I'm going to rank this one pretty highly, even though I admit that like, maybe like the strategies aren't like the most deep. But I think that they are the most fun. They are like very fun.
Well,
and
you do have deep strategy. I'm going to push back just slightly on that, right? Like the Sableye, I think it really adds.
I think the Sableye decks have a good amount of depth to them. I would agree.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So if you want to take it in that direction, you certainly can. You obviously have the beat stick that Blastoise is and continues to be throughout future Worlds formats, and then you have like kind of this middle ground, I would say, with with the plasma deck, right? Not the most intricate, but it does have some advanced level strategies. So I look very favorably on Worlds 2023. I think like you do.
I think I would agree with the take that this is probably the best Big Basics format. Yeah. I'm personally not partial to Big Basic formats. I like being able to evolve my little guys and like that being a key part of my strategy, maybe more front and center part of the strategy. Obviously there's like, your Eels and Blastoise evolving. I'd be fine with like, if you guys think this is like an A tier deck, I'd be fine with it being like.
Oh, it's going in A tier for sure. Oh yeah. Iconic.
I would probably put it in B myself.
Icons, dude. This format is filled with icons, bro. Icons.
There are some cool cards in this format for sure.
All right, let's talk 2012. So 2012 World Championships, Igor Costa wins with Darkrai Mewtwo, and we talk about Big Basic formats. This is another Big Basic format, but
it's like the other end of the spectrum.
In maybe contrast to what we just looked at, there really is only one answer, and that's Darkrai. So whether or not you pair Darkrai with Mewtwo, whether or not Darkrai is on its own, by and large, it's a Darkrai dominated format. You also have, of course, Mewtwo. You could play Mewtwo with Celebi. That's something that we see from a lot of these players, but that is about it. Not a very deep format, and many of the lists look the same from a lot of these top finishers.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you literally just got like Next Destinies and then Dark Explorers were released back to back this year. Yeah. And we're going to look at you're going to look at this, and then you're going to look at 2011. And the landscape in 2011, you're going to look at it and you're going to say like, whoa, look at all these like stage 2 evolving decks. Like, look at all these cool guys, right?
Yeah.
And then you get just the 1-2 punch of Next Destiny's Dark Explorers, and the power level of Mewtwo and Darkrai just left absolutely everything that came before it in the dust. And you had no option but to play these two cards in some kind of way. You could either lean more into Mewtwo, as some decks did. You could lean more into Darkrai, as other decks did. Or you could freaking play them both, which is what most of them did. And, pick your flavor of way to charge them up. Because, that is just what we're going to do. And we're going to beat the crap out of each other while we do it with our Big Basics. So, that's kind of funny and important historically in its own way, but it's not great. So, it's going to be a D tier format for sure.
Yeah, you think about the power level though. I mean, it's a Big Basic deck, a Big Basic dominated format that has a very high power level, because you're thinking about playing multiple supporters in a turn, right? You get your own supporter and then you can copy with Smeargle. So you're seeing potentially 14 cards off of your double Juniper supporter, or 13 off of a Juniper and a Professor Oak's New Theory. And then you're able to, use multiple of your broken items, multiple Dark Patch by playing one and then reusing it with Junk Arm.
Junk Arm, by the way. Yeah.
Being able to force up, Pokemon Catcher at this point isn't on a flip yet. And so, you just get that auto gust. You have the Shaman. So if you either mismanage energy or have it on a damaged Pokemon, you can move it to a fresh Pokemon. Like, there's a lot of just really, really broken things going on. I think that's kind of fun. I just think that the format is knocked down into that C, maybe high D tier because of the lack of versatility. Like, it is just, if you're going to play 2012, you're playing a deck that has Darkrai or Mewtwo in it.
The format's cooked when you had Pokemon Catcher without a flip and you're playing like 3 of them, so you can fit Junk Arms and other stuff.
Yeah, it's not very
this
diverse.
Format's cooked, bro. No, it's cooked. It's cooked.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
It's all right. Just
now, would I want to play this format
go.
more or less than some of the other D tiers? Let's pop open the list.
All right. Take a look.
So
2024 Jesse's Miraidon.
I would probably rank it above all of those, to be honest.
Low key, I would play it I'd play it right up there with the C tier decks just because I like it and I'm nostalgic, but I have to.
Probably low C. Can we just do low C?
Sure.
He loves Darkrai. Yeah, that's fine.
Darkrai's goat. Darkrai is the goat. Man.
He
That's
loves
such a good card.
Darkrai.
That's so fun.
I mean, he made the case for Darkrai just last week. So
Exactly. All right, 2011. I'm gonna sit up for this one. This is one of my favorite formats. This is right when I was getting
you
into
want to lead it in?
This is right when I was getting
wheelhouse
into the game.
here.
Yeah, this is right when I was getting into the game, and I definitely look back on this format with rose-colored glasses. Heart Gold, Soul Silver block into the beginning of the Black and White era, and there is just a wide array of strategies and a wide array of decks that all work really well together. Let's take a look here at the top finishers. We got David Cohen winning with the Magnezone Prime Emboar deck. Emboar is Blastoise for fire types, so you're just accelerating a bunch of fire energy. They just actually reprinted in a sense Emboar in Black and White. Doesn't see any play now, but was pretty good back then. You synergized with the Magnezone to do basically infinite damage. And then of course you have one of the most iconic decks of all time, the Truth from Ross. Night before the tournament, sleeves up a Worlds promo card that they give him, Tropical Beach, puts it in the Truth, and it becomes this whole phenomenon where he's manipulating damage counters under item lock, intentionally going behind in prizes so that he can play twins over and over to build up a really impenetrable board. Reuniclus played a big part in that deck. Obviously you have the Zekrom and Reshiram. It was really interesting. And then you have Reshifusion. This was a deck of, a major deck throughout the entirety of the season. You have the Typhlosion Prime, which is accelerating energy from the discard pile. You have the Reshiram, which is from the latest set that's doing big damage, and you combo that with plus powers to reach the numbers that you need to hit for some of the bigger primes. You have Yanmega, Josh Wittenkeller. I think this is one of my favorite lists from this World Championship, but he's playing Yanmega with Magnezone. So Yanmega is a really quick early game attacker to do 40 damage snipe, and then you have the Magnezone for later to after you've established a bunch of energy.
Kingdra.
And then the Kingdra is just like I just love the Kingdra. I think Kingdra is so fun.
Love that Kingdra. Yeah.
But I look very fondly at this format. I think it is a format that was a bit underexplored. What you see with Ross's deck as it gets played into the next season is people adjust the counts and maybe optimize it a bit more than Ross was able to with the resources that he has at the time. So I think that might be a knock on this format, is that, it's maybe suboptimal, right? Like when you see iterations of the Truth in formats beyond this Worlds, they're usually including like 3 or 4 beach, which Ross just didn't have access to at the time. But I like this format a lot. I think it's a lot of fun. You also have the legend cards, which are so fun. Like you talk about a dopamine hit, playing a legend card is just so insane. You have the Rayquaza Deoxys Legend in David's deck to take a couple of prizes on a knockout. So yeah, really fun format. I like this one a lot.
Yeah, I actually have some decks from this format. Yeah. I think this format's a ton of fun to me. Like, I think the Heart Gold Soul Silver era was just a blast. Like, it's just low to the ground, like pure Pokemon cards in my mind. And this is 2011, I think, is a really good exemplification of that. You have the Magnivore decks, you have the Reshiflosion. I love Reshiflosion. I've always loved Reshiflosion. I don't know why. It's just fun. The Truth is maybe the most iconic like Worlds deck ever. I'm trying to think of another one that like has the same like cultural footprint, and I can't immediately think of. Maybe like LVS has that sort of footprint. Yeah, this is just so sick to me. I love late stage Heart Gold Soul Silver, early Black and White.
Yeah, and the aesthetic is so good. Like, we're gonna pull up a Reshu list. Like, it just is working. Like, you're coming out of a block in Heart Gold Soul Silver, and those are kind of, I describe the art style as like maybe softer, you know, kind of more mysterious, and then you're moving into Black and White, which is a little bit more kind of futuristic and technological almost. Like, you look at the Reshiram and it has all this like pixelation, right, a la TCG Live. But then you combo it with, you know, some of these like really gorgeous artworks. I think very kind of soft and aesthetically pleasing artworks from the Heart Gold Soul Silver block. So yeah, even just looking at these decks, it just like, it scratches an itch for me.
Yeah, this format is definitely the format that people will say was like the most underexplored at the time. And the reason is that because there was an emergency mid-season rotation.
Mm-hmm.
They had been kind of letting the format just go since like Diamond and Pearl, right? And they just like weren't rotating things. 2010 Worlds happened, weren't rotating things. And then like all of a sudden there was like some problematic combination. If you know more than I do, JW, there was something. It was like a Spiritomb or something. Was like
no, it was Sableye
or something.
Yeah,
Sableye. That's it. Sabledonk, right? So like, yeah, there was a problematic deck, and they were like, just, you know, cut the cord, bro. We're just gonna, you know, Heart Gold Soul Silver on whatever, you know. So, dude, this format is like literally 5 sets for a Worlds format. It's like Heart Gold Soul Silver, you know what? Or like, you got like, there's only a handful of sets, right?
Yeah, Heart Gold Soul Silver had, I think, 5.
Call of
if
Legends
you include
doesn't
Call of
even
Legends.
count as a set.
Yeah, if you can include Call of Legends, I think
so
it's
like
5
sets.
So 6 sets total for this Worlds.
If you count Call of Legends, but
yeah,
like Call of Legends is like a non-set that's like basically reprints and like other crap that we just had to get from Japan thrown in some sort of bulk set, right? It's kind of like a Champion's Path type set. Like, dude, you ain't getting nothing.
I think you also had. I'm trying to think here too. I think you also had Shuppet. I think that might have been the one, because you had Plus Power that released in Black and White. So you could just. I think Plus Power is still attached, so you could like Shuppet for a bunch of damage.
Talking with Chris Fulop, who was your 2004 Worlds finalist and Northeast Ohio native. He has kind of seen and played through it all. He told me that this is the worst format that he had ever played, ever. Absolutely loathes it. I don't share that sentiment with him, and there are definitely retro heads who are like, oh no, there's like a lot more here than meets the eye. Like there's stuff that people didn't unearth, they didn't have time to, right? And it's true. And I think that these cards are fun to play with each other. You start to get kind of the direction of the Black and White stuff with like the big basics. Your Reshiram, right, is obviously a very high power level card, the likes of which you'd never been seen. Reshiram also just marks a huge step for the Pokemon TCG, because ever since base set, they had not power crept the HP total of a basic Pokemon. 120 was the highest HP basic from base set all the way up through the Heart Gold Soul Silver era. And then finally, with Black and White, you've got Zekrom and Reshiram both clocking in at 130 hit points. So they were kind of the beginning of the end, if you will, because things just have not stopped since then. And now we have, 300-400 hit point Pokemon, and you can kind of point to Black and White base set. That is just where it all started.
Yeah, I mean, Black and White in general is the turning point of the game, right? With the capital EXs coming into the mix as well. Yeah, I mean, it definitely in terms of overall depth of the format, this is probably on the lower end, but man, there's just something so pure about it to me.
Yeah, it is
so
very
I
pure.
do like it.
It is very pure. I mean, I'm gonna make a case for a B tier. I'm not gonna say that it's a it does have flaws.
That's fine.
It does have
I like
flaws,
B.
but I
Yeah.
think
He's also looking lonely.
Yeah, there's a pretty wide array of decks. They're all pretty fun to play by and large. There's good counterplay for the most part, and yeah, again, aesthetically, it's a beautiful format to play. Taking a step back to 2010, some people think that this is peak Pokemon.
Yeah, much
Some
beloved
people call this
format.
peak.
Well, it's the end of, it's the end of legacy Pokemon. I don't know. It's certainly we turn a corner.
Last pre-Black and White worlds.
We turn a corner like Heart Gold, Soul Silver / Black and White. Like that is certainly the modern game, or the start of the modern game that we know now. And this is the pinnacle of, I would say legacy or vintage Pokemon.
Yeah, slapper and S tier, dude. Just go ahead.
Okay. All right. 2010
does belong in S tier. Yeah.
It does belong in S tier. I mean, 2010 is very cool. You've got your level X Pokemon. You've got just everything from like Diamond and Pearl, Platinum. You've got crazy card combinations with like broken time space. Is there 2010's got Jumpluff in it, doesn't it?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So you got some. Yeah, dude. So you got freaking like you got some Heart Gold, Soul Silver stuff in there. Kind of peeking in right at the end as like those cards start to like really redefine the power level. Like Heart Gold, Soul Silver, that little mini block feels like the transitional period between the Diamond and Pearl era and the Black and White era. So like your power level is like starting to get higher with that. But playing Claydol, what a rush. I mean, we talked about this last episode. Claydol, just one of the most fun cards to play ever. Your gusting effects are limited. You have to like freaking level X a Luxray to like gust things.
There
right?
are so many iconic decks, right? You think about Luxray.
There's so many cool things you have to do.
Gardevoir. You think about Gengar. You think about Gyarados.
Dude.
You think about Jumpluff. You think about Regigigas.
It's just freaking S tier.
Regigigas.
Every deck in this format's like super fun.
Dialga.
Like Luxchomp is one of the all-time decks ever in the Pokemon TCG.
Yeah.
Gardeglade in there as well.
The power level is just right.
Yeah.
I mean, most Pokemon are not one-hit KOing each other, right? Mm-hmm. Single price Pokemon having a hard time one-hit KOing each other. Yes. This is what we want. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is a format that everyone should try once, in my opinion. Like,
for sure.
You won't get it the first time maybe, but like you should try it, have a serious, play session with friends or online.
And there's so much depth to
There's a lot of depth.
There is.
Yeah. If you can get out from underneath the power sprays, there's a lot of depth here.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, it's sick. Yeah, easy S tier. I mean, we could talk about this kind of stuff all night, but like we've got more formats to cover. 2010, put her in S, play it, read about it. It's great stuff.
I can't believe there's just so many decks that I want to look at though. Like, man, Gyarados. When have we ever seen a strategy like this? Like, this is just so fun. You have the BTS.
Free attack. Yeah, dude.
Free attack.
You've got
doing 90
Crobat
damage.
SP, Uxie. I mean, dude,
goodness.
you're literally like you're fixing your math with Crobat and Poketurn and picking it up, putting it back down, using that Flash Bite, doing residual damage to fix math just so. You've got the concept of a multi-prizer in the format with your expert belt, right? So you can put expert belt on things to give your Pokemon 20 more hit points and they do 20 more damage, but they also give up an additional prize card when they get knocked out. So like conceptually you do kind of have 2 prizers in the format, but like it's all skill based. Like I'm going to put it down only when I need to and choose where it goes.
You get punished hard if you don't.
You get punished if you jack that up for sure. Uxie's like the most broken draw card ever in the format, but it doesn't matter. It's like kind of the base set logic, right? Where it's like in base set, you've got the most broken draw of all time. You draw your whole deck in a turn if you want to, but it just doesn't matter because you can't win the game in a turn or two. So like you have to use your resources correctly in order to map out all 6 prizes. You can't just draw your whole deck and vomit on the board and be like, hey, I won. You know, that's not really how it works.
Yeah.
And there's something really nice about that, right? Like needing to actually choose when to use your very strong abilities so that you can navigate a 6 prize game. There's something very rewarding about that. There are a lot of inflection points to misplay at, which makes playing the game well feel very rewarding.
And before we move on,
Uxie, even though it's like ostensibly stronger than Shaman too, it was balanced by the context of the format, right? There was so much less draw in general. There was less hand thinning in general. So like Shaman, you could Shaman 3 times in a turn for 6. Uxie, if you Uxie for 7, you're a beast for sure. Like that's not happening that frequently.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did just want to bring up before we head on to the next format, Regigigas as just a deck that I really enjoy and very unique in the format. Sacrifice is a Pokepower on the Regigigas. You actually discard one of your own bench Pokemon, and then you get to power up your Reggie. So like very
you don't just
unique.
discard it, you knock it out, bro.
Well, okay, yes, knock it out. Yes, you're right. So yeah, you're like giving up these
which
prizes.
is cooler. Like,
that is way cooler. Yeah. That's what I meant. You are discarding it. You're also knocking it out.
He kills them, dude.
It's like crazy
yeah,
stuff.
Reggie straight up kills them.
Needs more power.
He feasts on their blood.
He sacrifices them, dude.
Sure does.
To freaking Arceus.
He sure
cracks their necks and suckles out the blood. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
Brutal stuff.
All right, what do
happening
we got?
to your Uxies, by the way, on the bench.
2009, the most
2009.
fraudulent Worlds deck win of all time. That's what I hear people say. I didn't play through it, but I hear people say that this deck, more fraudulent than Mega Audino, is crazy. But like, but yeah, it's I don't know much about this format. I haven't played it a lot, but I've heard not great things about Speed Drill. But there it is. It won.
This has
No
whispers. This has
Steven
whispers. I think if you
Silvestro.
play 2010, you get the better version of 2009. Like, you're not really missing anything out of That's not to say it's necessarily a bad format, but I think 2010 just like turns it up enough that it's the kind of perfect version almost of this this set of cards. And so 2009, I somewhat agree. I've heard that as well, Andrew, where people don't really look back fondly on the Beedrill deck. It is an interesting strategy, right? Of like getting Beedrills out really fast and you're hitting very hard, much like how Beedrill in current standard does more damage for the amount of Beedrill in play. Same thing here. But yeah, I've also heard that, right? Of like, this is not a particularly strong Worlds winning list.
Beedrill just got its spiritual successor not that long ago, and it's been complete trash. So, rip. But maybe to Andrew's earlier comment too, like 2009 was Diamond and Pearl was the starting set. 2010, Diamond and Pearl was also the starting set in that block. So 2010 was just 2009 plus. That's not like a meme. That's literally
is 2009 with the expansion pass, bro. Like that's like, yes, dude.
And I feel like the late stage Diamond and Pearl block was really good. Like the SP cards are really fun and interesting, and like and so yeah, to me like 2010 is just a more fully realized version of what 2009
How do you guys feel about Machamp? All right, so
take out, it just like literally knocks the guy out.
Yeah, if it's a basic, it just is a knockout for 1 energy. How do we feel about that? Because again, at this time, Rare Candy could be played the turn that you play a Pokemon down. So you have these.
Yeah, that's cool.
You have these situations where, your opponent's playing like an SP deck, and then you just get a Machamp out of nowhere, and
screw them basics, dude. Yeah, that's fine.
You're about it, huh?
I'm about it for sure.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Machamp's a cool guy. Let Machamp have a broken card. Why don't we let fighting Pokemon have broken stage 2s, okay? There's not many of them. Let Machamp have a cool card. Yeah, I think that as we go back into these kinds of eras, we're talking from the perspective of people that are revisiting these formats a lot, right? And these formats have all had time to kind of like be revisited extensively, right? So there almost is kind of like a order of things, right? I mean, like at this point we're talking about like what does the retro community think of X format, right? Because like there's not as much of that in like 2022 onwards. Like that's all kind of being hashed out now. But for these formats, it's like people have their favorites and they know what they are. And they have thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of cardboard, you know, for their favorite formats, and will play exclusively those against each other while ignoring others, right?
Sure.
And as we are kind of like talking about these worlds formats, 2009 is not one that like people are lining up to build and play. It's 2010, right? And it is just because it is just more fully realized. But we're also going to get that with like some of the EX era stuff too, as we talk about like 2006 and 2007. You know, we talk about block formats, RSPK. You've got like the Diamond and Pearl block formats too. Like, I mean, that's what 2010 is, nearly Diamond and Pearl block format, Diamond and Pearl Platinum block format. I mean, just with a little bit of Heart Gold, Soul Silver tossed on the end there. So I think that 2009 is one that gets left in the cracks, and it's just because it's not as deep as 2010. So it's still a fine format, but you know, it's probably like B tier. It's fine.
Yeah, just throw it in B. It's
Yeah,
fine with me too.
that seems fine.
Okay. 2008. Who wants this one?
I'm not a 2008 aficionado, but 2008 is dominated by Gardevoir, Telepath Guardy, Andrew's vote for one of the greatest cards of all time. Jason Klaczynski also racking up his second World Championship win here with Telepath Guardy.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really the deck to beat, right? Like there was Apollyon in the mix. There was a handful of Blissey players. But Telepath Guardy was just so complete as a strategy and so ridiculously powerful with the Pokepower lock on the attack, the Telepath ability itself being able to get that multi-supporter effect, the strongest iteration on a multi-supporter effect probably ever seen in the Pokemon TCG. It's just the complete package. There's some cool stuff going on in this format for sure. You got the Dusknoir to be able to shuffle your opponent's bench Pokemon in the deck. They're kind of like threatening, you can't overbench against me, while you're also putting on pressure with the Gardevoir. So there's a lot of like back and forth / like jockeying for positioning here. Gallade is a really cool card as well. I'm a big fan of the Gallade. The Gallade has the Psychic Cut attack, where you can choose to flip prizes face up, and then you do additional damage for every prize card you flip. So it's kind of like an emergency deal big damage button, but you can't do it over and over because you can't flip your prizes. You can only flip over so many prizes,
right?
You know, before you're either run out or you can't hit the damage thresholds anymore. So even though this format is really heavily defined by Gardevoir, I don't think that's implicitly a bad thing. To Andrew's earlier point, it still can make for interesting games if the mirror itself is cool.
Yeah, and game design wise, I think this is the end of this game design philosophy of split evolution lines. We'll see that pretty heavily in some of these older formats where you have a single Pokemon that evolves up into two very powerful stage 2s. And that's, you know, very core to, again, what I consider, you know, these legacy formats where you just have two insanely powerful cards that you have to be resourceful on what you're evolving your Ralts into, right? The limiting factor is the Ralts and not necessarily these stage 2 cards. You have the Claydol, broken card. You have the Gardevoir, broken card. Gardevoir level X, broken card. You have the Dusknoir, broken card. Galactic's Wager, broken card. You have a lot of these just really good cards that are a lot of fun.
One sneak in there for sure.
That are a lot of fun to play, and yeah, 2008 is I look back very favorably, very fondly on this retro format. I think it's a really good one for players to pick up.
Yeah, I think it's cool. Guardiglade, powerhouse deck, ability lock. You got multiple supporters being played. It is a board state format where you're very much like developing your board state to counter your opponent's board state. You have to know what you're doing. You are not able to just vomit your cards onto the table and win. Being the first player to get a Gardevoir into play is very strong, though. And that can go a long way in the mirror match, which is sometimes pretty off-putting. Just being like, well, they got the Guardy, they got the rare candy Guardy, guess they're goated, okay, But there are some other decks that see some play, but none as powerful as Guardiglade.
Y'all ever play
this
Empoleon
format's
deck?
fine to me.
This one's fun, dude.
Empoleon deck is fun, but it's just the Guardy deck.
It's just not as good. Yeah.
Hey, never said it was as good.
I mean, yeah, Empoleon, he's a guy for sure.
Empoleon's an icon for sure. If you play that Kensugi Moriart Piplup.
So where do we like this? It seems like we're somewhat favorable on it. I mean, not enough to put it in S or A, but maybe debating.
Fine with I see.
Maybe the best of C.
Yeah, that's fine with me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good enough. 2007. 2007.
I've heard it said that 2007 is just worse, less interesting 2006, and that it's also less interesting RSPK. So all the retro heads, they either are on 2006, 2004, or RSPK.
Mm-hmm.
Those are kind of like your big formats to revisit from this era. 2007 is kind of like all the great things about 2006 and RSPK, but just like a little bit less of it. So or like just like a little bit, slightly worse variation of it, right? Like 2006 kind of is like the icon of this EX era, the original EX era. If you're going to dilute it down to just a Worlds format, 2006 is the one that is kind of like the most iconic. 2007, you get some more pieces, notably the Windstorm is big, can remove stadiums and tool cards. I think you've also got some Pokemon power locking, right? You got like the tool. Look at
Sess
another
Crystal.
deck. Surely it's
Zation Crystal.
Sess Crystal.
Sess Crystal. Yes, you've got that. So you've got like that stuff going on in this format, which is like not something that you're getting in 2006, which, yeah, I mean, that's like ability lock, right? The Cetacean Crystal and the Windstorm. That is ability lock. I like ability lock, but like it's maybe like not the most interesting iteration of ability lock. Like you just slap a tool on your active and that's it. Like it's maybe leaves a little bit to be desired. But yeah, I mean, these formats are icons. I mean, I'm talking like we're splitting hairs here amongst like the cream of the crop, the best that the Pokemon TCG has to offer. 2007 is still like a fantastic era to play, as is 2006, as is 2005, as is 2004. I mean, to me, 2004 through 2007, that is like the peak of the Pokemon TCG experience.
Yeah.
Only to be rivaled by like some era between maybe 2017 and 2018. Like those two are like the next peaks. 2010 is another big peak, but like this is the peak. If you're asking me, this is the peak of the Pokemon TCG, is that 2004 to 2007 range, the original EX era. You had so many amazing things to love about this format. You had EX Pokemon, the first ever true prize Pokemon being introduced to the Pokemon trading card game. You had Stage 2 Pokemon that were EXs and Stage 2 Pokemon that were non-EXs. You had basic Pokemon that were EXs, basic Pokemon that were non-EXs, Stage 1s that were EXs, Stage 1s that were non-EXs, and all variations of those different stages of Pokemon being played in decks together in harmony with perfect power balance and a great kind of pace and tempo between you and your opponent. Not too many game actions, not too few game actions, just enough strategy, counterplay, things like that. Lots of variation in the kinds of decks you could play. There's a reason why people consider this to be the golden age of the Pokemon TCG. It's just such a fun time to experience. So 2007 is not like the premier one that people revisit. That's going to be RSPK for the most part, or 2006. But 2007 is still an A tier format. Like it's still yeah, it's up there.
Oh, all right. And any counterpoints, Riley? You 2007 head?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like the counterpoint would just be like, I would always basically choose to play an 06 game over an 07 game. So like, how much do you dock 07 for that when there's like just a format you'd always rather play in comparison?
Sure. Well, let's break down 2006 then. This was Jason's first Worlds win, and like Andrew was saying, a wide array of decks and cards that you could play alongside each other. A lot of EXs that were viable right now, and a lot of different decks that you could play against other decks, you know, to counter what you would expect in the room. So why don't you walk us through, Andrew or Riley, 2006 Worlds format?
So I can hand it off to Andrew in a second, but when I think of retro formats, at least World Championship retro formats, the kind of big pillars for pre-black and white are going to be 2010 and 2006. Those are really the ones that people are most excited to revisit. And 2004 is maybe in the mix, but I feel like 06 and 2010 are the ones that people are seriously talking about. 2006, like Andrew said, features the EX Pokemon, which were much closer in power parity to the non-EX Pokemon, which I think just made for a better gameplay experience overall. Like, it made the sacrifice of the additional prize feel a little bit more meaningful, I would say, than it does in like the modern era of the game. 2006 is a format with a huge array of archetypes and decks, which I know people love, but it didn't feel like they were goofing around either. Like, all the decks had like really cool stuff going on. They were all really powerful. There's just a lot of different fun ideas being explored in this format. So Jason won with more of a lock deck. So he played Mew Trick, and the idea was that you would use Mew to copy Magnetric for the disconnect attack for item lock. That's item lock is a tried and true strategy that's been good throughout the history of the Pokemon trading card game. So efficient item lock with Mew makes sense how that could be successful. Some of the decks that people like love to explore though are ones that aren't Mew Trick though. You know, we have stuff like Jimmy Baller's Evolutions deck, which is super crazy and fun and like iconic in my mind. Maybe not the single strongest deck in the format, but like, who doesn't want to have 5 different Eevee evolution options to get into play? Like, that's so cool. You have decks like Dragtrode with the Dark Dragonite and the Electrode. It's such an iconic engine. This is probably like one of the more realized like evil mechanics in the Pokemon TCG as well, with the Electrodes to accelerate and move energies with the Dragonites, powering up cards like the Rocket Sneasel EX and Scyther. Super duper cool. You had Rock Lock type decks. You had Bombtar, which is my favorite deck in this era.
Yeah.
Just explode onto the Dark Tyranitar and go crazy with it. This format there's just so much fun to be had. You have Delta Species decks as well as well as the Holon Engine, which is both extremely iconic, but also just a really fun, powerful, yet also consistent engine to play. So being able to both access the multicolored energies as well as things like Holon Mentor. So super cool stuff. I mean, what's not to love?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible, right? Your balance, and I think that this is something that I really, when you break it down, something that I really feel like makes the best formats the best is the balance between the basics, the stage 1s, and the stage 2s, and the balance between the EXs and the non-EXs. If you can create an environment where basic stage 1s and stage 2s all feel balanced and fun to play against each other, you've got a winner on your hands, because you've figured out the key to the Pokemon TCG as a designer. You figured out how to make evolution, which is like kind of the whole thing about Pokemon, evolving your Pokemon. That's like the whole thing, the concept of the Pokemon TCG. When compared to other franchises, evolving is a Pokemon thing, right? And when you can unlock that part of the Pokemon TCG and make it a fun core game mechanic instead of something that feels like I have to labor around, right? And something that detracts from the experience, like, oh, I have to evolve in order to get this. It's sort of like, instead of like, I am evolving, and that is a making the gameplay feel more fun and engaging, because of the different creatures that are coming into play. It feels like it really makes these formats special. I mean, there's such iconic strategies, as Riley kind of went through. Jason Klaczynski won, probably because he's goated. The Mew trick deck that he won with is not like, a stifling BDIF by any means. It's a good deck. People play it a lot when you're revisiting the format because it won, and it's got like a world championship reprint, or not a world. It's got a world championship reprint, but it's also got the 25th anniversary reprint of the Mew EX. So it's pretty, pretty capable of being built. But it is not like a stifling BDIF at all. I wouldn't even say it's BDIF. It's just a good deck, and all the decks feel very well balanced. One of the most popular decks from this format is the LBS deck. And JW, I want you to pull up an LBS list real quick. There's one.
Yeah, there's one in top 16 here, but here's the.
But pull up full ups. Yeah. So like compare a list like this, and this is kind of gonna just tell you a little bit about the difference in how the Pokemon TCG changed over the years, right? Because this is your 2006 Lugia Blastoise Steelix deck, and then compare that with a 2014, 2013 Blastoise deck, right? Like top 4 James Good, and you could pull up that list too and toggle back and forth between them. This list here is far more complex than the 2013 counterpart, right? Because you've got all these different attackers, all these different Pokemon that do different things. You've got Blastoise EX with its Energy Rain Pokepower, which can rain water energy into play at the cost of putting damage counters on your own Pokemon. So there's a downside to that. But then you can use the cool mechanic of the Holland's Electrode and Holland's Cast Form to turn those water energy into rainbow energy. And actually that allows you to unlock any Pokemon's attacks, right? So like Blastoise becomes this universal energy accelerator with the Holland's Cast Form and the Holland's Magneton. And then you're using various consistency Pokemon like Jirachi with the Wishing Star Pokepower. You're using Jirachi to help set up Pidgeot with the Quick Search Pokepower. And you're using all these different triggers to bounce off each other. But even though your deck is complex and has a lot of different moving parts, the turns don't labor on and take very long. There's not a million triggers every turn. You really just have a couple. And there's a lot of turns back and forth between you and your opponent. It's very much a board state format. I'm building up my board state. Every Pokemon that I bench and when I bench it is meaningful. Every energy that I attach and when I attach it is meaningful. Every supporter I play and the cards that I look for is meaningful. And there's lots of different inflection points in the match to outmaneuver your opponent or be outmaneuvered. And that's just one of the things that makes this format so beloved and makes the games so fun to play. There are supporters that help you to kind of like tutor various things that you need out of your deck for when you need it. But the search doesn't feel like overtly broken, and that like you're not setting up a turn 2 Blastoise every game, right? Like you and your opponent can kind of stumble out the gates and then like find yourself in a very deep match. That's the kind of thing that happens more or less. Whereas like, look at this list. This list, all these different one-ofs, all these different cool cards that you could call out, to use to change the trajectory of the game. And then James Good's Blastoise list is like 2 lines.
Yeah, and Gust is not, it's not a thing here. So what you'll end up happening, well, Okay, but it's not particularly
Counter catcher. I mean, there's
Yes.
POW hand extension, right?
Yes,
and
right,
there's
right.
reversal, which is a flip.
The point is
and then
that
you've also got Rocket's admin too, which is like N. I mean, so
sure, good. No. There's definitely comeback cards, no doubt. But for a deck like this, you're certainly sacrificing, a prize or two or potentially three to set up a board. And what you'll find with these formats, 2006 being a great example, and this deck being maybe the pinnacle of that, is you'll have 6 different Pokemon on the field in a game, right? Like you're never duplicating a Pokemon, so it feels very unique in that regard, where there's not a lot of.
I mean, shoot, man, like you're supporting basic Pokemon. You might have different versions of them. Like the Jirachi, you might go for the Make-A-Wish Jirachi to evolve up your board, or you might go for Wishing Star Jirachi to try and dig deeper into your deck. Like the variety of options that presented itself in this format, and I feel like the modern like proclivity in the Pokemon card game is to play heavy counts, very consistent lists. This is just a totally different kind of worldview on how to play the game back in this era.
And that's why this is peak. Is because I mean, dude, isn't this what a freaking Pokemon team should look like? Is like your board should be like 6 different Pokemon, right? Because that's what a freaking Pokemon team looks like, Whereas like modern Pokemon decks feel like it's made up of all the same guys, and they just do something really broken, and the decks are kind of just making themselves. I don't know. It feels like Pokemon just kind of like prints the decks these days, right? They just kind of like give it to you in a can. Whereas like this is kind of like a crazy mix mash of like all these different things. And, it feels really satisfying the way they all kind of trigger together and not very, pre-planned. It feels more discovered, which is really neat.
So where are we thinking? Is this S tier?
It's S, dude.
Are we talking top of?
It's top of S. Yes.
Top of S.
It's the best.
It's the best. Hurrah! Great. Let's keep going. 2005. This is the Queendom deck. Jeremy Marin and Pablo Meza both getting top 4 with, I believe, the same 60. I find this format to be really interesting. You have the Queendom deck. You have these Powtar, right? Tyranitar with Electrode. You pair Tyranitar with Magcargo, Ampharos, all doing slightly different things. You have the Ludicargo deck, which is really fun, stacking cards with the Magcargo, drawing a card with the Ludicolo.
Is awesome.
And then just like swinging for what at the time was big damage. You have Medicham, which is your, Iron Thorns style deck, like shutting off Poke Powers and that. You have Blaziken decks. You have some Steelix things going on here. I mean, there's a wide variety as well, but certainly the format defining deck of this era was the Queendom deck that dominated.
Yeah, this is great stuff. I mean, as kind of I said, it's just like it's amazing stuff from that original EX era. It's just maybe a slightly less deep iteration of it is kind of what I would call it, like a slightly shallower iteration of it. It's still cool. You got a lot of different cool decks that get to pop out and shine without maybe some more powerful decks overshadowing them. One of my favorites is the ZRE deck, Zapdos, Rayquaza, Electrode, using Electrode EX, Fire Red Leaf Green. I'm blowing up that Electrode EX. It's just so cool, right? You got like Zapdos EX, Zapdos EX, and Rayquaza EX, which are big basic beat sticks that just do more damage. Or Rayquaza does more damage with the amount of energy on it. Zapdos is kind of like this swoop in and takes all the energy to itself, and just a solid damage output type of guy. I'm putting this, up in A.
I'd say A tier personally. Like I feel like I would prefer this to 2007. 2005 I'd prefer 2007, but I think 2006 is handily a better format. So
yeah, to me this is top A. Like, it's over 2025
Yeah.
for me. Yeah. Top A,
think
2007,
I-
bottom A, that's okay. And it kind of bookends 2006, which is the goat of goats.
Very good. All right, speed running through these last couple. 2004, the
2004 was the first TPCI World Championship. There was a Wizards of the Coast one, which will be our final line here. The actual way the World's Tournament played out, I think, was somewhat emblematic of the lack of a world stage leading up to this, in that it was completely dominated by the kind of secret Japanese Team Magma Groudon deck, which was another like big basic-esque strategy. You know, you play the Magma cards, which all kind of synergized with each other, but the goal was to attack quickly with your Team Magma Zangoose and your Team Magma Groudon to take big knockouts and then deny prizes with Mr. Briney's Compassion. Like some of the other big players in this format, you had Blaziken, which was super strong, and like Andrew had referenced earlier, this era of the game, there was a lot of like power parity between EXs and non-EXs. So you'd see cards like Blaziken paired with their EX counterpart. Gardevoir, also much the same. You'd see Gardevoir paired with its non-EX counterpart.
And Swampert.
Swampert as well.
too.
I love Swampert.
Yeah.
Yep.
The decks, I think, from this era are super duper fun to play. And I don't think the way the World Championship played out necessarily represents like the totality of the format. But definitely interesting that like Japanese came in full storm with Groudon and just ran the show at the actual tournament. There's a lot of fun decks though. You got Swampert, you got Gardevoir, you got like the Walrein deck, which is kind of somewhat in the mix. You know, there's cool stuff going on. I feel like the top decks definitely stand like way above the others. Like to me, this kind of occupies. I would personally say this is like an A tier.
A tier format for you.
It's A tier. The thing about 2004 that holds it back is that there's not a lot of interacting with like what your opponent is doing, not a lot of interacting with their hand. Your best hand disruption is Desert Shaman, which is a judge, right? Whereas in EX Rocket Returns, which is 2005, you get Rocket's Admin, and Rocket's Admin becomes that kind of like quintessential hand disruption. I mean, it's the icon that became N, that became Iono, that we all know today, right? Like Rocket's Admin in 2005 was that card and kind of defined the era of what it meant to disrupt the hand. POW Hand Extension, also just such a good comeback card, also released in EX Rocket Returns. EX Rocket Returns, one of my favorite sets of all time. I think one of the greatest sets of all time. And 2004 does not have that set. So 2004 is very unique in that it does introduce Pokemon EX to the fold. A lot of those decks are very fun to play against each other. It's very much a board state format, but decks can be bricky, and you can have some non-games. There are definitely games that just, one deck runs away with it, while the other one kind of is like fumbling around a little bit too much. And then there's not the comeback potential. There's not the comeback mechanic to like fix it, right? It's kind of like the knock on the format. So to me, it's like a high B or low A.
Yeah, I actually feel like high B is maybe a better spot for it.
Love that. I think I tend to agree. Last format, 2002. Andrew, why don't you bring us home with an overview of the 2002 World Championships?
Oh, baby. All right, so this is Wizards of the Coast. Their first and last World Championship events famously did not have a Masters division in it. It was a juniors and seniors event, a 10 and under and 11 to 14. The Masters were told that they could play in the Professor events if they would like to participate, which, as the story goes, only the janitor saw finish, because it was kind of like after the main events festivities and went kind of well after, things had already started shutting down, and was very much not the highlight of the weekend. Masters actually played a different format. They played Unlimited. The Professor event was an Unlimited, kind of like base set through the e-reader stuff. They kind of played, just everything. Or was it base Neo? I forget exactly what it was. Was it base Neo? Can you scroll up a little bit?
Sure.
Go to the
through Legendary Collection.
Yeah, was it through Legendary Collection? Yeah. So it was base set through Legendary Collection. Well, that's the seniors. Go to the Professors. They played different. N1 through LC. Right, that's Neo on. Yeah. So this is base set through Legendary Collection. Yeah. So the Masters played base set through Legendary Collection, and the juniors and seniors, they played Neo on. So the Neo on format is not great because you don't have all of the strongest cards from base set, which actually kind of make games a little bit more interesting. Like energy removal is very toxic, but it also, like, with Item Finder, right? Energy removal with Item Finder, it also does, like, make the game a little bit more interesting. It almost is kind of like you chop off all the most interesting things about, like, the base set card pool, and you're just playing, like, Neo on decks. Neo on decks just feel like you're kind of there are a lot of viable strategies because every deck is just kind of kicking each other in the shins until one wins. This is like what it kind of feels like. But yeah, base Neo, that's kind of low-key fun. I'm a big base Neo stan. This particular Worlds was plagued by the fact that Slow King was mistranslated, and Wizards never fixed it. Format. Yeah, it's like not even a real format. I mean, it's not great, right? Like 2002 was kind of a mess. There's no Masters division. Base Neo was not played correctly because the Slow King was mistranslated. Japanese players were, like, not even invited to this Worlds because, like, there were scheduling conflicts with, like, their organized play and Wizards organized play. So, like, yeah, it's like kind of a fake format Worlds, in my opinion. I mean, the juniors and the seniors are actually the ones that played, like, the closest to a real format because they played Neo on. So, like,
but they still had the Slow King.
They still have the jacked up Slow King in there. So
it's like Slow King is in every single deck, basically.
Is it? Oh, yeah. So I guess, yeah, okay. It's just fake format Worlds. Yeah, we'll just right because the Slow King's mistranslated, so it's all jacked. None of these results are real. I mean, they're real because they all played in the jacked up format together. But, like, when you're actually talking about the format itself, like, when people revisit the format, they don't usually play this. They don't play the historically accurate 2002 Worlds format.
Historically accurate 2002 Worlds might be the worst Worlds format of them all.
That's what I'm saying.
It depends on your mindset, I think. Right? Like, I think Slow King can be fun. I think Chaos Stadium can be fun.
Yeah, let's put it in C tier.
No.
I mean, it's really gambling personified, or
no way. It's so miserable. There's no shot you actually earn a.
I like these cards a lot more than I like anything in D tier. That's for sure.
I don't know. Let's put it top of D. Yeah. Let's put it top of D. We'll satisfy everyone. So that is it. The definitive Pokemon TCG Worlds format tier list. Any adjustments that you'd make, or any final thoughts before we close out today's episode?
I'm really liking the curve we got going on. I think it's flawless.
I feel like it looks pretty good, honestly.
Where would you recommend players start?
Top of S, baby.
Just dive right in.
No, if I all right, so start. I mean, because when you talk about, like, where should players start with if you're thinking about getting into, like, older formats, there's obviously, like, the cost is something to think about. So then it's going to be like your 2017, 2018 is going to be my suggestion, the Sun and Moon. Getting into those pre-tag team GX decks, those are not very expensive. You can get into those. They're fun. Will give you, like, a different taste of what the Pokemon TCG has historically offered. And then from there, once you get the itch and become a sicko, like the rest of us, you can start building the real formats.
Yeah, I guess outside of like investing and playing, I feel like the Sun and Moon is also it's also a good like starting point from a gameplay perspective too, because it's
Sure.
a little bit of a rewind on the type of game we play now, but pretty familiar. And I feel like the decks are straightforward enough that you can kind of jump into them with a. If you're listening this deep into the podcast, you have an understanding of how the modern game is played at least. So,
Yes.
like those are a good point to with which you can start to move backwards because like 2006 and 2010 plays very differently to how the game does today. It'd be a
Yeah, I think the
pretty big shakeup.
I think the S tier formats are the peaks, right? And they all play very differently. 2010 is very different, obviously, from 2018. 2018 is, the it like hints to what Pokemon used to be. Similarly, in 2010, that's like the end of what I think of as legacy. 2006 has a very different playstyle, but still, like we outlined, very peak interactions. So yeah, start there. 2018, my favorite Worlds format, and I hope we as a podcast get the chance to play some more Worlds format in the years to come.
Well, that'll do it for today's episode, folks. Thanks for tuning in and hearing us ramble about the World Championships of bygone eras. If you'd like to hear us ramble on the internet in other ways, you can follow us on X, the Everything app. You can find Andrew at EnjoyFriend, JW at RealJohnWalter, and myself at Smiles with Riles. And of course, the podcast at Tag Team Pokemon. Make sure to leave a comment and a like on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you're getting the podcast. It really means a lot, and we may feature you on an upcoming mailbag. With that, it's a wrap for today, and we'll catch you next time, folks. Peace.